One of these days we'll be live.
Welcome to the Alt Schwift and Glidus show.
Woohoo.
We're talking about food.
Yippee. Yum yum.
I hope you're hungry, and if you're not, you will be.
It's a good thing we're not doing this in Ramadan again.
That was really insensitive of us, in hindsight.
Sorry.
My goodness, we got to keep an eye to the calendar. Are there any public holidays today we should know about? King's birthday? Did that already happen?
I don't think he has birthdays.
He's just an eternal being.
Well,
he always was and always will be.
Charles.
Today we're continuing our quest to rank every description of food in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. In the Game of Thrones books, George describes food quite a lot.
He loves this stuff. It's his favorite thing to eat.
Food's definitely one of his favorite foods. And so today we're going to continue our quest with Book 4, A Feast for Crows.
A feast for crows, you say?
It's a feast. It's on theme.
It's got to be full of food.
I think The Feast is a book full of happiness and good times and plenty. Surely.
Yeah.
So let's find out what foods there are.
Sure. In this feast for bros, because we're the bros.
It's a feast for bros. Although we're all bros
for everyone.
here.
Even if you're not a bro.
I think we're the feast and they're the bros. Yeah, it's best not to think about it. So the first chapter in A Feast for Crows is the prologue, and that's where we've got...
Wouldn't it be funny if you put the prologue in the middle of the book?
Where would it exist in time? Would it be a flashback to the beginning, or would it be...
No. It's in chronological order. It's just...
You're just calling it a prologue.
Yeah.
I think that'd just be a lie.
Well... I don't think George is beyond lying.
I like the idea that the prologue to The Winds of Winter will be a Hodor chapter.
Hodor.
And it's just Hodor for every word.
Such a great troll.
That'd be wonderful.
Been waiting 13 years for a book, and the first chapter is just Hodor 1,300 times in a row.
Oh, the entire book is just one extended food description.
Oh my god.
After you eat The Winds of Winter, will you write a food description about it?
Strips of paper dribbled down his chin.
Ink dribbled onto his sleeves.
His fingers wet with pulp.
Oh no. Don't get us demonetized already, Glidus.
Yeah.
So the prologue of A Feast for Crows is it's one of the most fun chapters in the series, isn't it? I think it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Because you got Alaras, Oberyn Martell's secret daughter, pretending to be a man and studying at the Citadel of the Maesters. Extremely real. And you've got Pate the Pig Boy as our POV character.
The faceless man rocks up. You see a lot of intersecting people from across Westeros interacting there in Old Town.
Yeah, it's extremely cool to see the faceless man, who's probably Jack and Hagar, because he's like an Arya character who's coming into Sam's plotline, who's connecting maybe to Euron's plotline. So Old Town's a great convergence.
And throughout this chapter, the acolytes at the Citadel discuss a lot of things from throughout the series. It's basically a recap.
Yeah, it is that, isn't it? Yeah. Because they talk about the stories, the tales of Daenerys' dragons in the East, and they're skeptical about that, and it almost reminds me of audience members in a play or something, like the characters who represent the audience, recapping events and reacting to them, because these are all bit players.
We've come back from the interval, and there's these couple of characters from the chorus.
Yeah. Hey, Rosencrantz, what do you think of this Hamlet guy? That sort of stuff.
I think he's a right tosser.
Sure hope we don't get murdered.
On with the show.
I understand that that our pal George Martin, the author, wrote 17 different versions of this prologue chapter.
Yeah, right.
And in some of them, Rosie, the woman who works at the pub, was the POV character for this chapter. And in another version, Alaras or Leo or someone was the POV. He was playing with all these different POV perspectives. which is super interesting.
He does a lot of that. Like, you'd have to.
I mean, you could just make a decision and stick with it, George. Might help you with finishing things, George.
Well, I don't know. There's a discussion to be had about the 5-year gap there. Because what if he'd like made that decision and stuck with it? Maybe the books would have come out sooner, but maybe they wouldn't be as cool.
Yeah, because the story is that George like struggled monumentally with writing the next book in the series. And ultimately made the decision to...
It took him 5 whole years, guys.
But Feast, when he released Feast, it wasn't even really the full book because he split the book in 2 into Feast and Dance.
So it took him 11 years.
Yeah.
Could you imagine waiting 11 years for one book? That's actually 2 books.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit too real. Yeah, so like he made this monumentally big decision, this writing decision, to release Feast separate from Dance and to break it up. And, you know, this is a book that doesn't have Jon Snow in it and doesn't have Daenerys in it because he's split it across geography. Yeah. So it's the book that has, like, people's favorite characters aren't in this book. It introduces the weird Ironborn plot lines and the weird Dawn plot lines, and it doesn't tell you what's going on at the Wall. It doesn't tell you what's going on in the East.
It's honestly an incredibly brave book to release that like doesn't please what anyone wanted.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I don't know if it's brave or kind of cowardly. Like I feel like Random House probably bullied George into releasing something because that's a pattern that George has done a lot. Like he keeps going, "Oh, I wrote Fire and Blood because my publisher said I had to release something, and Winds isn't done, so I wrote 100,000 words of fake history. I had no other choice." And
I fell over and accidentally wrote an entire history book.
Help! I can't hold all these fictional histories. So I feel like Feast is definitely like the weird child of the family, you know. Like
I still love it.
It's the runt of the litter.
It's a very unique, interesting book, I think, mainly because it features none of the flashy events that characterize the first 3 books in some way. Like everyone was drawn in. Obviously, there's a lot more wonderful detail and beautiful prose and thematic exploration in those first 3 books. But what really hooks people is the explosive events. Really, like Red Wedding. A Storm of Swords is just such a ride.
Yeah.
And then to follow it with this slow, meandering exploration of characters you didn't really expect to be exploring, that features very few explosive moments. What a departure.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, because it like
we follow Brienne wandering around the Riverlands for an entire book. Cersei just sitting in King's Landing, fucking things up for herself.
Ariane's completely failed Dornish plot that
came out of nowhere and also goes nowhere.
Sam sailing south and accomplishing nothing. Like, it is shocking how little happens in this book compared to Storm, which was an absolute balls-to-the-wall blockbuster. Whereas this is, like this sort of navel-gazing travelogue.
We're all staring at George's belly throughout this one.
But, so it may not have a lot of explosive moments, but boy, does it have some food descriptions.
It has some food.
It has some food. Well, I mean, because that's the other thing, of course, because, like, you know, the title of Feast for Crows, like, what this book is about is the aftermath of the wars and the battles that happened in the previous books. And so food in this book, it's about starvation. It's a book about desolation. It's a book about people suffering the consequences of the war, the economic and social upheaval and suffering that's happened. So it's kind of a book about a lack of food as much as it's a book about food.
It's not a book about food. I don't know where you're getting that from. That's just the batshit framework we've decided to go through it today.
Yeah, it's like if you tried to understand Shakespeare only by reading the lines that have exclamation marks in them or something. like it's a completely like looking only at the food descriptions is such a arbitrary way to look at this series.
Maybe we should only read the sentences that don't have the letter E.
Yeah, I like that.
That'd be a bitch to find.
No, we can write a script. We can do it. We can do it.
Your regex magic.
Oh yeah. All right. So the prologue We open on this like unexpected scene with these new characters, Alaras and Leo and Melander and Pate and all these folks. And the important bit in this scene is the food description.
Of course.
Which is Leo Tyrell, who is a
cousin of Mace Tyrell. I know that, and I didn't have to look it up.
Thanks, Glidus. Mace Tyrell's close personal friend and cousin, Leo Tyrell, whose nickname is Lazy, which is like brutal.
On, guys.
I mean, really. Not George Martin's best epithet, honestly.
Yeah.
So Leo says, I wasted my last stag on supper. Suckling pig in plum sauce, stuffed with chestnuts and white truffles. A man must eat. What did you lads have?
Mutton, muttered Molander. Oh, George really liked that one, didn't he?
He loved it.
He sounded none too pleased about it. We shared a haunch of boiled mutton.
So for those who weren't paying attention, Leo's an obnoxious rich person who's trying to show off his wealth and his class by saying, well, I ate this amazing suckling pig fancy meal, and he acts as though that's nothing, while all these lower class people only had boiled mutton.
I had to eat something, so I guess I had a roast pig in plum sauce.
All I had was some
white truffles. Peasant food. And it's like, I really like how the Citadel is spoken of as this place where people are equal. Well, men are equal.
Yeah.
Which, again, the presence of Sorella Sand really brings that up as well when the reader figures out that's who it is. If they do. If you didn't figure it out, sorry for spoiling that. And this line here is one of the demonstrations of that being a lie.
Absolutely.
That, like, the Citadel is not a classless place.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that George does throughout the story, is he takes these institutions like knighthood and the maesters and the Night's Watch, and he examines why they suck and they just do not live up to what they're meant to be. But individuals can still choose to uphold what's good about the institution. That's what Jon Snow's story is all about, because like the Night's Watch similarly is meant to be this classless, egalitarian, equal institution. Like Benjen tells Jon, this is a place where a man gets what he earns. It's meritocratic. But then we find out that it's a total lie. And like knights get special privileges. But it's not
Benjen lying. It's the institution just like is fundamentally built on a lie. It's not that Benjen decided to lie to Jon. It's
yeah, but Benjen was being aspirational in that.
Well, he believes it.
Yeah, but I mean, Benjen isn't blind. He's not an idiot. He should have seen that the Night's Watch is failing to be as meritocratic as it's meant to be, and he should have been more honest to Jon Snow. Because Jon Snow
gets there and he sees,
yeah, Jon felt like everyone lied to him. But you know, part of what Jon's story is about is that he sees what is good and worthy in the Night's Watch as an institution, and he decides to uphold and protect and defend those values. But some of the values, like the law against finagling with cute redheads, he chooses to break that rule. So,
because he sees it as silly.
Yeah,
silly rule,
and not even technically in the rules anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, this chapter is partly about how the maesters. I mean, in a lot of ways, in many different ways, this chapter is about how the maesters. I mean, this book shows us in many different ways that the Citadel of Maesters is a corrupt and weird institution. And then, you know, of course, at the end of the book, we have Marwyn the Mage alleging that, hey, there's a conspiracy. They'll poison your porridge if you talk about dragons.
He's a real one. He's one of us.
Yeah,
he's a fan theorist.
I like the idea that Marwyn is like a parody of crazy fan theorists. I honestly, like, Marwyn the Mage is one of the main reasons I wanted to read the next Song of Ice and Fire book, because it is so wild how Marwyn drops these crazy theories on us, and we still have no idea whether he's totally telling the truth or totally lying or what. So yeah, Leo. So I think we should rate Leo's meal: suckling pig in plum sauce, stuffed with chestnuts and white truffles. I mean,
I'd call that an A.
I think I might call that an S.
Yeah?
That sounds fantastic. I would like a bit of greens in there. But the pig and plum, I mean, what a combo. The old
finished with white truffles.
The old 2P?
Yeah,
2P and T?
The PPS.
I call it the 2P and T. Pig, plums and truffles. 2P and T. I would call it S tier.
I think I was being reserved just to leave a bit of room, you know. Although this is a feast for crows.
I think it's all down from here.
Okay. Let's send it
S tier. To celebrate our first food ranking, would you like to look at some super chats?
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the money we earned.
Thank you, Daddy Cuss. Chin juice, chin juice, chin juice. Or plum chin.
Sauce.
Yeah, sauce, chin sauce. Thank you, Linus, for the super chat. Love you too in the vids. Shout out to the Got Gang.
Shout out to the Got Gang.
Thank you, Marcelo Deliveria, who says, what is the oil in oily black stone? Olive oily black stone? Cod liver oily black stone?
I think it's petrol. It's not actually oil. It's a common misconception.
Is that like the economy of Ashai, is that it like runs on this oil, this petroleum that they built the city out of?
Yeah. So there's tar pits near Ashai. I'm making shit up, just to be clear. And they use the ancient remains of long dead creatures, and they refine it into oil that they ship around the world.
I mean, there would be a lot of dead things around Ashai. Yeah. Like, it's a place of death that seems to have formerly been a place where people lived because there's a big city there. So there would be a lot of oil, maybe, from decomposed creatures.
It's unclear how long it's been a place of death. Because I think you need to be compressed for quite a while to become oil.
That's true. That might take millions of years.
Yeah, a few million.
Well, despite what people might tell you, it's a fantasy book, not a sci-fi book, so we probably shouldn't worry about millions of years.
They're the same thing.
Why is the blackstone oily? The blackstone is like a few different things. I think part of it why it's oily is because it's like greasy, deep ones, Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah, it's imagery that George wants to evoke.
And the other adjacent thing is that the black stone is potentially like a meteorite that's fallen from the sky. Like the Dane meteor that Dawn is made out of, and like the Red Star comet, and like the...
it's a Vulcan.
The Vulcan spaceship, of course, and the Bloodstone of the Bloodstone Emperor. Like, I think it's space rocks, is what I'm trying to say.
Hell yeah.
That's space oil.
That the high tower is built on.
Yeah.
Sick.
That's probably the stone that the Danes made Dawn out of, is the high tower foundation. Don't you reckon?
Well, it's a black oily stone, and Dawn is like a pale milky.
But it was made it was made from the heart of a comet.
Yes.
Maybe
so we're told.
So maybe big ass rock landed on Battle Isle, and the people carved into the comet to form like the buildings of the High Tower Foundation, and within the heart of that rock that fell, they find like this magical white bit of stone, and that's where Dawn comes from.
I guess.
Because it's the heart of the comet. Because like Old Town's pretty close to the Dane Starfall.
Yeah.
So like it makes like was there coincidentally a meteor that landed in Starfall and a meteor that landed on Battle Isle, or was it actually just one event?
Well, objects when they fall through atmospheres tend to break up.
Yeah.
So it like maybe it could have fallen both at Old Town and at Starfall. Because, I mean, the name is Starfall. You'd think that something happened there, considering,
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Asteroid comes from the Greek for star.
Oh, yeah, Aster, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Broke up while I was coming in. I can believe that.
Yeah, maybe.
I hope that answers your question, Marcelo.
Actually, I think it's sunflower oil.
Thanks for the super chat from Simcoe, who says that A Feast for Crows has the Cersei POV chapters and is therefore the best book.
Simcoe coming in with the correct opinion once again.
Yeah, Cersei's enormously fun in this book. And
I love Cersei 4. It's such a bonkers chapter.
What happens in 4?
It's the one with the council meeting where basically they decide what to do with the country. It's the one where she sends Janos Slint off to kill Jon Snow. She tells all Rained Waters to build a massive fleet so that he can steal it. It's another cool examination of lots of different plot lines of the story coming together. This is why council scenes are so much fun, is because you get to examine the plot all at once from one particular perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, the story's large enough that we can get the pleasure of parts of the story touching other parts of the story unexpectedly, which is like a cool trick that you can only do when you have written a sufficiently large and expansive story.
Absolutely. And it's so satisfying.
Yeah, Cersei tells Wyman Manderley to kill Davos Seaworth. Like, Cersei and Wyman Manderley are such like
best bros.
They're such different people in such different places, and for them to be communicating in Feast, like, that's one of the other weird things, is that Feast and Dance happen simultaneously.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into those reading methods that like fuse the books together into what some fans figure to be a coherent or chronological order?
Yeah, because since Feast and Dance are basically two halves of one book, some fans have mushed them together into a combined reading order. I haven't read it like that, but it would make sense.
I'm interested in doing it.
Because that's probably how George wrote it.
Yeah,
or at least large chunks of
like it.
Yeah.
I mean, like many authors, I suppose, he's like kind of scattered about like touching up chapters after he's finished ones that come way after. Like he said, the Red Wedding was one of the last things he wrote for A Storm of Swords, and that happens around 2/3 of the book.
Yeah. He must have been kicking himself. Like, since it took him so many years to finish Dance, like, there must have been things in Feast that happened simultaneous to Dance, where he's like, oh, I wish I had done this bit in Feast differently because it would connect with what I'm doing now in Dance way better.
Yeah, well, think about how many chapters of The Winds of Winter he had finished when Dance came out. Like, is he doing that again?
Yeah.
I think I read recently somewhere that he said that he wished there was one character that was still alive, and people were speculating on who that was. Obviously, it's
Quentin.
Yeah. I was going to say oh fuck, the clown that Brienne kills.
Shagwell. Shagwell is Azor Ahai, and Shagwell will rise again from the place of salt and smoke because Crackclaw Point is by the sea, so it has salt, and Brienne has a campfire before she kills Shagwell, so there is smoke and salt at Crackclaw Point when Brienne kills Shagwell. Therefore, indisputably,
fucking hell.
And Brienne has Oathkeeper, the Valyrian steel sword.
Did you just have this ready to go?
So therefore, Oathkeeper is Lightbringer. And the stars overhead are sufficient. The red comet, Vulcan spaceship.
It's the star on Brienne's shield.
Which is a falling star because it's Dunk's heraldry. So therefore, Shagwell will defeat the White Walkers in A Dream of Spring.
He's dead.
Shut up. No, he will rise again. He'll be resurrected, like by Melisandre.
No, by Lady Stoneheart.
No, by Kinvara. Wouldn't it be so fucking funny if George just wrote Kinvara into The Winds of Winter and she just
but didn't even introduce her, like just assumed we already knew who she was from Game of Thrones. Anyway.
Introduce yourself, my lady. My name is Kinvara. I come from the distant eastern land of HBO.
Season 6.
If George doesn't give a grisly death to some characters called Dan and Dave at some point in The Winds of Winter, I will be shocked. Thanks for the super chat from Conker, who says, would Robert Baratheon rather fight 100 crab-sized sharks or 10 shark-sized crabs?
Robert Baratheon is obsessed with machismo. He would want to fight the bigger things, I think.
He would want to fight both, all at once.
Yeah, true. I think a shark-sized crab, fighting them would be the most rewarding because they're larger foes and they would be delicious. Although sharks can be delicious too.
I think it would be really hard to kill a shark-sized crab.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that, like crustacean armor, like when it's big enough, like how are you gonna... I mean, I guess his warhammer is a bit like a crab. I think the crab would kill him, is what I'm trying to say.
Especially if there's 10 of them.
10 of them. Yeah, Robert's fucked. And then after the crabs kill Robert, Cersei can eat the crabs.
How's Cersei gonna kill the crabs? Wildfire.
Yeah, burn them, cook them, put them in a stew. And thanks for the super chat from my bastard son, Old Swift Stone. Swift Stone, you keep asking me to provide for you, but you keep sending me super chats. Like, I feel like you should hold on to your super chats so that you can eat.
That's like him cobbling together every piece of wealth he has so that he can contact you for help. And you're saying, well, he's clearly well off enough to get a raven.
Eat the raven. Ravens are delicious.
Oh, yeah, true.
Eat the raven.
We'll get back to those later. We did one food description. It's been 25 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think we should rest on our laurels until we've completed more than one food ranking. It's been 25 minutes, Glidus. Let's pick up the pace. Would you like to introduce our next chapter?
The Prophet. So this is Aaron Greyjoy, Mr. Damn Fair.
That's correct.
One day we shall feast on fish together in the drowned god's watery holes, the four of us, and Yuri too.
Would you like to eat fish forever underwater in the afterlife forever?
Well, look, if my worldview is entirely based on a guy called the Drowned God, I'd probably think that's pretty cool. Like, I think of it as a Valhalla metaphor. I think that's what's going on here. That's what George is trying to evoke. With the term watery, the Drowned God's watery holes. It just takes me to Viking heaven. Then yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to do that.
I love how cartoonish it is. Like, it's so like Little Mermaid. Like the Ironborn are these tough, brutal, murdering dudes.
Yeah.
And yet their idea of the afterlife is so just patently ridiculous. I mean, I guess like heaven being like living on clouds with angels. I guess that's sort of equally silly, I guess. But like underwater, you can't talk. You can't talk underwater. Are you just gonna blub 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 at your loved ones forever in the afterworld? Live sound effects. Oh joy.
I think that there's details that Aaron's glossing over here. You know, that the Drowned God would, you know, we can talk somehow, it's fine. I'm wearing special wizard's armor that lets me breathe underwater.
Yeah, I think George is deliberately making it like cartoonish because this arc is partly about, you know, criticizing how wrong the Ironborn are about everything and like Asher needing to reform the Ironborn society. And so I think Aaron's arc is about him discovering that everything he believes is a lie. And that's why, like, the Forsaken TWOW preview chapter, he sees the Drowned God dead, and Euron says it's all a lie and it's all bullshit and I am all that there is.
What I find really interesting about Aaron's character then is that his backstory is him realizing that everything he believed was a lie and then becoming a prophet of the Drowned God.
Yeah,
and
true.
Here we're watching him basically do that again.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Like, yeah, he started with a grand revelation and shifting his worldview because he used to be a party boy and then he suddenly became a devout man.
Which is the High Sparrow's story in Game of Thrones, by the way.
So the High Sparrow is Aaron Damn Fair, is that what you're saying?
Yes. It's actually a genius transplacement of Aaron's story into King's Landing.
Transplacement. Interesting word.
If you can't keep up with what's going on in my head.
I believe the correct word is transmutation. Transjuice. All right. Okay.
Give me some of that trans juice.
So Aaron had a revelation to become a holy man, and now he's going to have a revelation. Is he going to say, I should have just been pissing this whole time. I should have stayed a party boy. I should have continued. Because that was his backstory, was that he used to be the guy on the Iron Islands who could urinate over a further distance than anyone else. Like that's like the big cool fact that we know about Aaron, but then he like almost
how far he can piss.
Wait, so did Aaron almost die?
Yeah.
What was it, a battle or was it drowning?
I think it was a battle.
I forget. Can you enter your mind palace and go into Bran Walk Vision and remember for us what happened to Aeron?
Let me just look it up on the Weirwood net.
Yeah, the Weirwood net. That'll remind us. Because I wonder if people theorize that Aeron was touched by the Three-Eyed Crow.
People theorize that everyone was touched by the Three-Eyed Crow.
I mean, don't knock at Glidus, because like I sincerely believe that Euron was touched by the Three-Eyed Crow.
Yeah, we've all seen it,
as well as Bran. It would be funny if Aeron was as well, but Bloodraven really like messed up. Like if Bloodraven touched Aeron,
he almost died in the rebellion. That's what I thought.
In Robert's Rebellion.
No, the Greyjoy Rebellion.
In the Greyjoy Rebellion. Yeah, right. Yeah, it is kind of weird if you have a character undergo a massive revelatory transformation, and then years later have him just undo that revelation. I mean, it's kind of real though, because like there are plenty of people who in real life have like religious conversions and religious revelations and are born again and embrace religion. And once you've done that, it's really hard to undo that, because it's really hard to admit you were wrong and admit, because if you were always a fence sitter or if you were always agnostic, then it's like really easy to change from there. But once you've committed to saying this is the truth and you must follow me, it's really hard to back down from an ideological extreme. Yeah, you can't undrink the Kool-Aid. So yeah, what does that look like for Aeron?
Well, I don't know if Aeron has enough time to have another life unraveling revelation.
Yeah, as much as I would love another dozen Aeron Damphair POV chapters and him settling down somewhere as a reformed man, a reformed bear, I don't expect he's going to live very long, is he?
By the way, I noticed someone freaking out in the live chat. It is pronounced damp hair.
Yeah, I don't want to gaslight everybody. So the thing, so Aeron Damphair, that's how it's pronounced, Damphair, and it's spelled Damphair. But the author George Martin was flummoxed when he encountered fans who had read his books and were under the impression that it was pronounced damn fair, the P and the H, Damphair, damn fair, which is very hilarious.
Yeah. In hindsight, perhaps a hyphen was necessary.
Yes. So how do you rate feasting on fish forever in the afterlife?
Look, if I'm going to eat one food forever in one kind of hole, fish forever in a watery hole with all of my brothers.
Sorry, I thought you said watery hole. Yes, one kind of hole, one kind of fish. You might have said this, but I was distracted. I think fish is good because fish is not really one food. Fish is more of a family of foods.
True.
Like it's a whole like zoological kingdom.
It's not a kingdom.
It's a kingdom, Mr. Taxonomical expert.
No, in our last stream, I had to post an entire errata of the things I said that were wrong.
Yeah, I was really impressed by all of the taxonomical knowledge that you were dropping with enormous confidence during that live stream.
Oh, look, I was right, mostly. I just, you got to be specific about these things.
Yes, may have gone too far on a few places.
Yeah, but we can undo it.
My problem with eating fish together forever in the drowned halls is that, like, aren't fish like their friends? Aren't they served
fish
by...
Fish are friends.
Fish are
not
friends.
Food.
Because they're served by mermaids in the drowned halls. And, like, the drowned god is borderline a fish. Let me put it this way. Ariel the mermaid does not eat fish.
What does she eat?
Seaweed.
Grass?
Seagrass. She must eat. She must be vegetarian.
How do you know that?
Well, because
where is this confidence?
She's talking to fish.
Yeah.
Fish are friends. Fish are people underwater. You don't eat people.
Do you think sheep are cute?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
I don't talk to them though.
But could you imagine yourself talking to them if you were a Disney princess?
Well, I have talked to sheep actually, so that's fair. They don't talk back. If they talk back, you can't eat them. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's a good rule, actually.
Yeah. If something says, please don't eat me, then you must not eat it. That's a good test.
Otherwise, all bets are off.
Mutes are an interesting grey area.
We'll see the philosophy you're creating here.
Yeah, look, I may have backed myself into a ethical corner. Yeah.
I think off-screen Ariel chows down on all sorts of fish.
I'm horrified by that.
She feasts on fish in the drowned god's watery holes.
Because she is half fish, so it's cannibalism. At least half cannibalism. All right. For ethical reasons, I want to rank that a D.
Just because you don't think they should be eating fish.
I don't. Well, because
you think it's a bit of a faux pas.
Yes, because like fish.
It's a part of the religion.
I think it's weird.
I think Aaron Damphair has thought this through more than you have.
Yeah, he's probably
He has an internal excuse for why this makes perfect sense.
I guarantee he does. I hope that we get, like, Aaron's theological explanation, justification for eating fish in the drowned.
Yeah, he takes a break from having an incredibly horrific psychedelic-induced fever dream to explain to the reader why it's okay that he's eating all these fish.
I would not put it past George. So our next chapter is...
on to our third food description.
Real lightning round here. We're in Dawn. Welcome to Dawn. Welcome to sunny Dawn.
The city of Dawn.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's what they did in the map in the TV show, isn't it? This singular location called Dawn. It's a little bit like if you went to a place called South America. Welcome, you have arrived at South America. Here is the leader of South America, Doran Martell, you know? Reductive. Would you like to read our first quote-unquote food description?
This is narrator, isn't it? Where Ario's thoughts describing Doran Martell. The gout had swollen and reddened his joints grotesquely. His left knee was an apple. Not exactly, George. His right a melon, and his toes turned to dark red grapes, so ripe it seemed as though a touch would burst them.
I'm so uncomfortable.
That is really not nice.
Isn't that awful? He's describing gout, this horrible medical condition, and the way that George chooses to explain it is, of course...
delicious fruity snacks.
Fruity snacks?
A melon?
Melons are huge. Maybe he's thinking of like a medieval smaller melon or something.
Before we maximalized them.
Yes. I heard a theory. I've got some melon opinions, and I've heard that what they actually do is they get the melons that are actually small. They get a big hypodermic needle full of flavored water, and they just inject the melons.
And that's what makes it a watermelon.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's not false advertising then.
How does the skin expand to keep all that new water in?
Well, they do it slowly while
over
the melon
course of
is
several
growing.
years.
Yeah, that's right. They put like an IV drip of water into the melon while it's growing in order to increase its size.
What's the point of that?
Because then they can sell it for more money. They weigh more. They charge you by the gram. So,
or ounce.
Yes.
For all of our listeners in fucking Bosnia or whatever.
The furlong. I would like to rate this F.
You don't want to eat Doran Martell's knees?
I don't want to eat Doran's knees. That's an F.
Very unappetizing.
So then we get some actual food. A serving man brought him a bowl of purple olives with flatbread, cheese, and chickpea paste. He ate a bit of it and drank a cup of the sweet, heavy, strong wine that he loved. So there's a bit of a Mediterranean flavour to this food, isn't there?
Sounds great too. Well, it sounds good. Like, it doesn't blow me away, but, you know, it sounds... There's no negativity associated with this food.
When he says chickpea paste, does he mean hummus?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he say hummus?
Because, I don't know, maybe George thought that would be anachronistic. I don't know. It's up to him to choose how to describe things.
Weird choice, George.
Maybe hummus is a bit more... like specific, although I don't think it is.
Well, he uses specific things like capon.
Gazpacho.
And then Doran drinks the sweet, heavy, strong wine. And I'm sure that Doran drinks like alcohol to deal with the pain of his gout, partly. But I think that him drinking the strong wine sipping the Kool-Aid. I think that's sort of indicating, that's like a hint of how badly the Dawn plans are going. Like, their mastermind is drunk.
He's getting sloshed just to deal with the day.
Their mega mind, who's coming up with all the plans, you know, the Dornish Martell plan to link up with the Targaryens and everything, he's crunk. And so he's making terrible plans. Like, I think that's kind of part of it.
Are you saying that Doran Martell and Cersei Lannister are parallel characters in this book?
Oh, no. They are, aren't they? A Feast for Crows is literally a book about people failing and making bad plans.
Absolutely.
Like everybody. Like, Brienne goes on a goose chase chasing after Shagwell.
The reader already knows that she can't succeed in her adventure to save Sansa or Arya.
Yeah.
Jaime fucking is pilfered off to go deal with the Riverlands.
Yeah, for what little good that's worth.
Yeah. A region that is like just always in turmoil.
Jon sends Aemon and Sam to the Citadel so that Aemon can convince the Maesters of the White Walkers, and Aemon dies. Goes the rest of the voyage pickling in a barrel.
Didn't think that one through, Jon.
Everyone's plans fail in this book. It is such a bravely downer book. My God. People are pointing out in the live chat that wine and alcohol can actually worsen gout.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe, and yeah, rich food as well can do it. Yeah, so Doran's gout is a...
Well, that's why it's the king's disease.
It's an illness of his own making, you know? And that's sort of what the Martell thing's about. And all of the, like, blood oranges that are overripe and splatting, like right from the beginning, there are all these hints that Doran is making terrible mistakes. As smart and as cool as he looks, he's just as dumb as Cersei.
The fan reaction to the incredibly stupid plan of presenting Daenerys with a marriage contract that had nothing to do with her, like the reaction to that is, oh, that must not actually be Doran's plan. But I guess when you pair it with all of this imagery, it has to be that just he is an idiot. Although there are other George stories where, you know, let's not get into it. The chess playing mastermind. Does he ever do it where the guy acts really, really, really stupid and then it turns out isn't?
Yeah, that would be a great
Unsound
question.
Variations? I don't think so.
Yeah. We
need to sit down, read all of George's stories and discuss them in a podcast format.
We do need to do that. A comparative analysis of Gigabrain masterminds in George Martin's work would be a good time. I would eat this food.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Is that a B?
B?
Yeah, okay.
I would get gout to that.
That's worth gout. So then Ario Hutar, who was briefly in the TV show, he's from Norvos, and he reminisces about his homeland, and he describes the taste of winter cake, rich with ginger and pine nuts and bits of cherry, with nasa to wash it down, fermented goat's milk served in an iron cup and laced with honey.
That sounds like a wonderful Yuletide treat.
Is nasa a real thing? I don't know.
The National Association of Home Scholars Alumni. I don't think that's what...
Ario's a cannibal?
Oh, no. The next clause of the sentence is describing to you what nasa is.
Yeah.
It's fermented goat's milk.
I was just wondering if nasa is a real word or if it's one that George made up.
It appears to not be a real word.
Yeah. So George was not confident enough to use the word hummus, but he was willing to invent nasa. What is going on here, George? I think that sounds very delicious. Ginger and pine nuts and bits of cherry. That sounds fantastic.
And we're back at the fermented milk.
Always with the fermented milk.
No, look, it's part of, you know, cultures of that geography, I guess.
Is it sanitary to drink from an iron cup? Would it rust? You don't want to drink rust.
It would, I suppose, rust over a very long period of time.
Mm.
Why does it have to be served in an iron cup?
I kind of love that because it's such an arbitrary thing that it must be like a cultural, traditional.
Yeah, No, if it's not served in an iron cup, it's not real NASA.
And iron, iron's like it's like otherwise it's only sparkling goat milk. Because like iron's like a tough, militaristic, forceful material. And what the other stuff we know about the Norvosi is that they like bears and axes. I think it's a sort of like a Russian sort of a vibe with the bears and stuff. So the iron cup is nice.
Maybe he's trying to tell us about a technology level thing. No, that doesn't make sense. It's a free city. It was born from the same...
Yeah, I'm sure they can make steel, just not cups. They have not got the technology for cups.
Isn't iron one of the... No, I'm thinking about radioactivity. Don't try to talk about science. You're not smart enough.
No, we'll do it anyway.
Winter cake. What a lovely, evocative... It just sounds nice. Have some winter cake.
And it not only sounds nice, it sounds nostalgic. Yeah. And it sounds homely. And that's what Ario's doing emotionally, is that he's longing for his homeworld. God, I really hope that Ario gets to go home in the books.
That'd be nice.
Because in the show, he gets murked by Tyene Sand with a little paper envelope opener.
A butterfly knife.
Pricks him with a little jib jabber, and he drops like a redwood tree, and it sucks.
It really does suck.
It sucks because the show showed off how cool Ario is with his giant axe, his ornate axe, and he threatened Jamie with it, and it's like, wow, it's gonna be so cool when Ario uses that.
A scene where Duran's like, I hope you remember how to use that thing. It's like, why did you do that?
Apparently not. and I mean, in fairness to D&D, a lot of people criticize the Dawn plotline because it went nowhere and failed and ended suddenly. But as we were just saying, that's kind of what happens in every plotline in this book. D&D were in a way, we're being honest to the sort of thematic vibe of this book by making seasons 5 and 6 an unsatisfying letdown. They were very clever to make such a bad show.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
I would like to rate this B, I reckon.
B.
Because, I don't love the fermented goat milk in the iron cup, but I do like the winter cake a lot.
Laced with honey to help you wash it down.
Yeah.
Winter cake, ginger, pine nuts, cherry.
If you want A, I'll go with A. It is pretty good. Yeah. Cool. And then Duran Martel breaks his fast on a blood orange and a plate of gull's eggs, diced with bits of ham and fiery peppers.
That sounds pretty good. It's bacon and eggs.
I feel like ham, there's such a wide spectrum of ham in terms of good and not good.
Where do you sit on the ham spectrum?
Well, it's the ham that's on the spectrum, not me. I am not more or less ham at any point. The ham is. Gull's eggs. Have you had seagull eggs?
I have not. Every time I've tried, they've attacked me.
I think there needs to be some carbs in this breakfast. All you've got is fruit and protein and chili. That's gonna give me indigestion.
You need some sourdough.
I'd give it a C, personally.
C, really? Yeah. Are you that sick of ham?
Well, yeah. I mean, the fiery peppers don't appeal to me as well.
To me, it sounds like chili eggs. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Bit of ham cut up in there, no problem.
Yeah, we can go B.
I'll meet you there. B for Brienne.
So now we begin Brienne's intrepid quest, a knight's tale, going on a journey to save a lady, Sansa Stark. When a well-intentioned hero goes on a journey, surely they will succeed. Joseph Campbell told us so. Right, George? Right? But no, Brienne meets a bunch of wacky characters. Podrick and Hyle Hunt and the endlessly charming Randall Tarley and Shagwell and Timian and all those wonderful characters, and at the end of it she pretty much ends up where she started.
Dying?
But she's not dead. She just got less face than she had before. Because
the last chapter ends with her being hanged.
Right, yes, true. The Brotherhood and Stoneheart hang her, yeah. Brienne's been hanging for the last 13 years.
Well, she appears in the Jaime chapter in the Dance with Dragons.
Yes, right.
And he's
right.
like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's the Hound. He's got Sansa. You got to come and save him.
Uh-huh.
It just sucks that that plotline was so spread out. You need YouTubers to explain the story to you, because if you read the books,
I need MatPat to sit down and tell me how this all ties together.
I tell myself that every day. So Brienne ends up with Stoneheart, and then she then agrees to lure Jaime to Stoneheart in dance.
It seems that way. It sure does.
That is one of the plotlines that I'm most excited to see resolve.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of Jaime and Brienne like putting Stoneheart to rest in kind of like a positive way. Like sort of emotionally resolving all of their sort of various feelings about the failures and injustices that they have both suffered and committed throughout their arcs. I would love to see that resolved.
Yes.
But until then, let's discuss the breakfast that Brienne has with the Hedge Knights, Sir Illifer and Sir Creighton.
I don't mind Illifer and Creighton. They're all right.
They're fine. They do a little bit of a sexism at Brienne, don't they?
Yeah.
A little bit of a sexism.
But it's like the well-intentioned, positive, we'll be nice to you because you're a useless woman. So I mean, they're not that blunt with it.
They're just slightly patronizing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they seem like decent blokes. Roast squirrel, acorn paste, and pickles. I like the sound of the roast squirrel. I like the sound of the pickles.
Acorn paste.
Yeah, not so sure about the acorn paste. Because doesn't Arya eat acorns and say that it sucks?
It's nicely themed though with the squirrel.
Yeah, it does feel very... Well, yeah, no, that's true, yeah. They definitely found the squirrel with the acorns, didn't they? And they're like, well, we might as well just eat them together. Like, the squirrel...
And served on a piece of oak bark.
With a sprig of oak leaves. And the squirrel is probably mostly made of acorns, really, when you think about it.
Don't know where the pickle came in. That's what killed the squirrel.
They hit it with a cucumber? They bludgeoned the squirrel's head in with a cucumber. Well, maybe the pickle was pickled in the squirrel.
Ew.
I'm just putting one and one together here.
Two.
Illifer must have just had a jar of pickles. And then they they bludgeoned the squirrel with the jar of pickles.
Oh, with the jar, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Probably packs more blunt force than the cucumber.
Yeah, I think, but there's the risk that the jar breaks, and then you just
your pickles are all loose.
You're covered in loose
dead
pickles.
Squirrels covered in pickle juice.
Oh, that's what my grandma always told me. You bloody loose pickle. Zip up your fly, or you'll have a loose pickle.
I think acorn paste would go down well.
Yeah, look, I think
the taste, the palate seems a little mismatched.
Well, I think the pickles cut through the blandness of the acorn paste. I think that's the idea. Like the vinegary pickle vinegar cuts through the paste, and then I think it actually has been wonderfully designed. I feel like this is a gourmand experience.
Put it on the McDonald's menu.
The McSquirrel. I think it's a B.
Yeah, look, I'm willing to try it.
Yeah, I'd do it.
If someone served that to me, like, you know what? Yeah, let's go.
And at the inn where they go and have dinner, there's goat on the spit, and there's also bread and drippings.
Ooh, drippings
Available. Goat drippings, no less. I feel like drippings would actually be great. Like, it's just grease. It's designed to run down chins, you know?
Like all good things in this world.
And goat on the spit, I rate that.
Bread, I like bread.
I feel like goat on the spit could be so much better if you add something to it, but just goat on its own.
Lettuce, tomato, onion, garlic sauce, chili sauce, barbecue sauce, serve it in a pita bread.
I'm describing a kebab, yes, okay. I'm describing a kebab. What I want is a kebab, but I will settle for goat on the spit. Do you reckon C or B? What do you reckon?
I'd give it a B.
Yeah, sure. All right, so...
We're at Sam now. This is a really fun chapter in my eyes because you see it from Sam's point of view in A Feast for Crows and John's in The Dance with Dragons, and it's the only chapter where that happens.
Yeah, it's a very cute and unique thing where George gives us the same scene told from two different perspectives. Same chapter from two different perspectives, which is fun. And, Sam has survived the expedition beyond the wall and the death of Joe Beaumont and the massacre on the Fist of the First Men.
That's right. He's basically just guided himself out of hell.
Yeah, he has survived apocalypse. And so now he finally gets to enjoy bean and bacon soup.
A bowl of bean and bacon soup.
Because that is what got Sam through the ordeal that he went through beyond the wall, was thinking about food, a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's how George got through all of the dark times in his life.
I don't doubt it. Bean and bacon soup? Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds all right. Give it a B, I guess.
B for bean and bacon.
Yeah, B for bowl.
Where have you been, Slayer? We missed you last night at supper. A whole roast ox went uneaten.
Sorry, when you say it out loud, it becomes real. I hadn't thought about it until you said it. A whole fucking ox.
Yeah, I think that's the first time the joke actually landed in my head. Like, Dolorous Ed is implying that because Sam wasn't at dinner, there was an entire leftover ox that Sam would have normally eaten.
Don't call me Slayer. Sam ignored the jibe about the ox. That was just Pip.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, sorry.
Pip,
Yeah, it's
not
Pip
Ed.
who said that. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, Pip. It is funny that Sam is constantly embarrassed that he killed a White Walker.
Yeah. I didn't mean to.
Like, it's the coolest thing he's ever done, and he tries to, minimize it.
Stop making fun of me, guys.
Whereas he just accepts the fat jokes. And then later...
He's used to the fat jokes, but killing a White Walker is very new to him. He has to incorporate it into his identity.
He's struggling to expand his self-image beyond where it is. I mean, it's sort of like...
Because all his life he'd imagined himself as a useless fat idiot. Well, not an idiot, but, useless fat craven, let's say. And now he has this cognitive dissonance where he's done the most badass thing imaginable. And, it just doesn't work in his head.
Yeah, you're totally right. And that's a lot of what happens in Sam's chapters Beyond the Wall. Like, when he's almost dying, doing the death march back from the Fist, and he's telling himself in his head over and over, like, I'm worthless, and I'm just fat, and I'm weak, and I'm craven, and blah. And he's constantly, repeating this, negative self-talk in his head over and over. And it's his father's voice, It's Randall Tarley's voice in his head telling him he's useless. And that's why Randall is in this book, in Brienne's chapters, saying all this horrible stuff to Brienne.
And we see that he's wrong about everything.
Yeah, but he does evolve beyond what his father told him he was, but he hasn't emotionally realized that yet. And at the same time, of course, Cersei's chapters are all about her living in Tywin's shadow,
yep.
Tywin's ghost living rent-free in Cersei's head. So really, what I'm trying to say is that A Feast for Crows is Daddy Issues, the book, the motion picture.
I wanted to comment, just like how Sam struggles with incorporating the things that he's done into his self-image. Isn't that exactly what Jaime struggles with too? Yeah,
the good and the ill. He struggles with doing good just as much as he struggles with doing bad. And and it's got so much to do with reputation and what people tell you are.
Absolutely. Sam has been told that he's a fat, useless craven, and so he is one. And then when he does something unbelievably brave, and incredibly cool, like something a cool guy might do, it just doesn't make sense to him. And when Jaime saves Brienne's life, he has to but I'm the Kingslayer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A Song of Ice and Fire is overwhelmingly about identity. And it's about the difference between who you are inside and who you're perceived as outside.
I think more importantly though, it's about whether the dragon will fuck the Kraken.
Let all the world beware. That's a good line too. It's both. That's why I love this series. Yeah. I love this series because it has such deep and wonderful character building, and it also has Vikings battling knights on boats, and it has dragons, and it has White Walkers, and it's got everything.
Yeah, something for everyone. Invite your grandma.
I'd eat more mice than you would.
Dolorous Ed Tollett gave a sigh. When I was a lad, we only ate mice on special feast days. I was the youngest, so I always got the tail. There's no meat on the tail.
It's just some classic Dolorous Ed. Would you eat a mouse's tail?
I mean, it's a special feast day. I've got to do what the family says.
Why?
I also am the youngest of my family, so I also got the tail.
Was it good, the tail?
There's no meat on it.
What is on? Is it skin? Like, if it's not meat, what do you call it? Is it skin?
Yeah.
Is it? It's like a chicken's foot or something. It's just like. Why do mice have tails? Isn't that just something you can grab so that predators can eat the mouse?
I think it.
Why do mice have tails?
Doesn't it help with steering?
Steering. Shifting gears.
Yeah.
Tokyo drifting. I don't.
Well, that's the thing. Most mammals have tails. We're the weird ones.
Yeah. Well, so there must have been a reason why we lost them. It's so that we can sit in office chairs and touch computers all day, right? That's why we got rid of our tails. So we could achieve our final evolution of talking about A Song of Ice and Fire on the internet.
Yeah. Once a month.
I would love to know why mice have tails. Because all right, no, I'll tell you why. I'll answer my own question. Because you've heard of a rat king, right?
Yeah.
You've heard that rats and mice can sometimes physically amalgamate like a Ginyu. What's the fusion? In Dragon Ball Z when they do the fusion dance and they combine. What's that called? Like
the fusion dance.
The fusion dance. Okay.
Ginyus have nothing to do with that.
So the mice do a fusion dance and they combine their tails together into a knot of stuff and clump together into a meta-organism, a hive mind, if you will, of rodents whose power together is greater than the sum of their individual parts. So if mice evolved to not have tails, they would be unable to perform the fusion dance.
It just provides balance and it regulates their temperature.
Come on, who told you that? Wikipedia?
WeirdNet?
Charles Darwin? Yeah, come on. Balance? What kind of?
Who needs balance?
I guess mice do. Mice scurry.
You ever seen a mouse fall over? No.
Yeah, well, mice do run and jump across branches and like narrow surfaces and stuff. I guess I can see how a tail would actually. Like you could keep on in touch. All right, maybe we should move on a little bit. Would you eat a mouse tail?
I'm actually kind of interested now.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I'm not curious. I reckon if you cooked it up crispy...
Like, it's such a small thing that it's like, why not?
I'd have a nibble,
like
for sure.
Like a spider leg.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have a spider leg. I'm going to give it a D.
Yeah, I don't want it, but I'll have it.
I'd try it, yeah. So Sam continues to...
Hang on, did we rank the whole roast ox?
Would you eat a whole roast ox? S. Done. So Sam is fond of porridge, especially when it's sweetened with honey.
Who isn't?
Yeah, I mean that's an A.
Yep.
Her saddlebags bulged with cheese and sausages and hard-cooked eggs and half a salted ham that Three Finger Hob had given him on his name day. "You're a man who appreciates cooking, Slayer," the cook had said. "We need more of your sort."
So true.
It's nice that Three Finger Hob is appreciating Sam's eating.
What a guy!
It's kind of a yeah. So I think this is when Sam's being sent to Old Town with Amon and Gilly, isn't it? So these are the supplies to last Sam on his journey.
Hob appreciates Sam for liking food, and so he gives him a shit ton of cheese, sausage, and eggs.
Fantastic. How long do hard-cooked eggs last in a saddlebag, do you reckon?
In a saddlebag? I don't know. I've only ever used like a a gym bag to store 800 hard-boiled eggs.
There's no gym stuff. It's just all eggs.
I walk into the gym, sit down on the bench, and just start fisting eggs into my...
Yeah, it's called pre-workout. What do you do? Yeah. Can I bring you a Aegon Targaryen in this trying time? Okay.
I don't want it.
Okay, all right. Cersei 2. You ready for more Cersei? Tywin's dead. Dad's dead. Cersei's gonna have to deal with that. And
it's gonna be a whole thing.
It's gonna be a whole thing. They're gonna write a whole book arc about it, and she is gonna eat a simple supper of beets and bread and bloody beef with a flagon of Dornish red to wash it all down. What do you think about drinking an entire flagon of wine for breakfast? Red wine for breakfast. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a complete vibe. It actually kind of reminds me of Archer.
Yeah.
How he would start his best days.
Yeah, Cersei is like Mallory Archer if she was dumb.
Mallory Archer is sometimes very dumb.
Like all the confidence, but none of the
Skill.
competence. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Well, I think all of the Archer characters in that show undergo this sort of Flanderization and dumbification.
Oh, do we need to talk about Archer for several hours?
That would be a separate stream probably because I'd have some Archer feelings. They're doing a final season, aren't they?
Yes.
Because I don't think I've seen all of like the later seasons, but the first couple of seasons were amazing.
Oh, they're so good. Like maybe even the first 5 or so.
Yeah.
And it's not like the rest of it are terrible.
Yeah, I mean
because Adam Reed is a uniquely funny man. He's a very gifted writer.
Is he like the main writer of Archer?
He's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just maybe the characters got tired, and so we saw them become these facsimiles of themselves.
I mean, I think part of it was that, they didn't want to be in a rut. They needed to change things up, and that's why it is cool that the later seasons did these brave, dramatic narrative changes, like doing the Danger Island and doing the dream sequence season and the space sci-fi season, and like that is a cool creative thing to do. My feeling is that it mostly didn't work for me, but it was creative and inventive, and I like that.
Yeah, I believe the next season is the last one.
Yeah,
because Jessica Walter did pass away in recent years. Was it COVID? I can't remember. Was it some sort of one of them diseases? What kills you?
Yeah, one of them lurgies. Yeah, that's sad. And yeah, it's hard to imagine it without her.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Cersei's eating a bunch of red shit.
So surely it's a coincidence that her breakfast is full of red beets and bloody beef after the death of her father. Surely that's a coincidence.
Yeah, no, it really has nothing to do with it. The curtains are blue because they were blue.
And yeah, the red wine. It's Lannister colors, of course.
Yeah.
It's crimson.
Beets, the Lannister vegetable.
It almost, they were almost called House Beet, but then they thought better of it because Tommen, of course, would have been outraged. We know how Tommen feels about beets. What is like the etymological situation with regards to beets and beetroot?
What do you mean?
Well, are they the same? Are they two different words for the same thing?
They're the same thing.
So why would anyone say beetroot when we could say beet?
I don't know.
Why do we say beetroot? We need to stop saying beetroot.
Is it a regional thing?
Make a note.
I think in a lot of the world they are just beets, and in other parts of the world we call them beetroot.
I thought language always tended to gravitate towards brevity, and I would have thought that beets. No. Is that why?
If that were the case, we would have been done with this already.
No one would say. Okay, burn. Someone points out in the live chat that supper is in fact not breakfast. Okay, you're right there. I stand corrected. This is not a breakfast meal. This is dinner. This is supper. She did not have wine for breakfast. She had it for supper.
And undercooked beef.
Yes.
Although probably cooked beef can also. I'm not moving on.
Well, we need to rate it. How do you rate beets, bread, bloody beef, and Dornish red?
It actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe something green.
Yeah, I would like some greens. I also feel like it depends on the quality of the bread a lot.
When I read bread in these, I typically assume, supermarket, wholemeal.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? Like, they're royalty. This is fresh baked bread for them.
True.
So.
But when you see it in different contexts, like Brienne at some inn,
Yeah.
that might also be freshly baked.
Yeah, isn't it depressing to think that medieval peasants were possibly eating much nicer bread than we are?
Did they thin it with sawdust to make it last longer?
Yeah.
If they had enough sawdust around.
Well, depending on the quality of the sawdust, that could be a textural tour de force.
If you're cutting maple next door,
yeah,
it could really add a unique note to the bread.
Real tang in your sawdust. I think since it's beats bread bloody beef, I think it's a B. Nice. So then Brienne arrives at Duskendale because she's trying to find Sansa, and she goes to an inn. And locals filled the benches, sopping up bowls of hot crab stew with chunks of bread. And in the common room, she's drinking a cup of milk and honey with 3 raw eggs mixed in.
A protein shake.
Oh, Brienne, my girl. It's amazing. I love it. The protein with honey. Fantastic. Would you drink that?
You know what? Yeah, I'll give it a go.
I'd give it a go.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd give it a B. And the hot crab stew with chunks of bread. I mean, that's an easy A or an... I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. Yeah. Fantastic. And in Cersei's next chapter, do you want to read this one?
To break her fast, the queen sent to the kitchens for 2 boiled eggs, a loaf of bread, and a pot of honey. But when she cracked the first egg and found a bloody, half-formed chick inside, her stomach roiled. Take this away and bring me hot spiced wine, she told Sanel.
Ooh. Is this a symbolism?
What a weird non sequitur, George.
Is this a symbolism? Is this Cersei's miscarriage? Is that what this is? Is Cersei having a miscarriage? Because I heard from a little bird that in Game of Thrones season 8 there was going to be a scene where Cersei had a miscarriage. Like at the start of season 8 episode 1, she'd be in this bed of blood, and it would have been like a baby that she was going to have with Jaime or whatever, but it died. She had a miscarriage, and I thought this, having a half-formed chick in an egg was meant to be some kind of an allusion to that idea.
Yeah, it is interesting how they never once resolve that threat. Is just like Cersei says in season 7, "Yo, I'm pregnant. What's up?" And then that's just it. Then nothing happens and she dies.
Yeah, one of many things that HBO doesn't bother to wrap up. But I guess the egg with the half-formed chick is also just Cersei's plans failing, like House Lannister failing. King Tommen's reign. King Joffrey's reign failing and ending too soon and all of that.
I'm focusing on there being 2 eggs. How did you boil it? Oh God, they boiled it they boiled it.
Oh God, yeah, it might have been alive at the time.
Yikes.
Ugh. At least it's cooked. Partly.
Would you eat it?
No.
What did you rank it?
Low.
I don't want it.
Do you think? Okay, so she got 2 eggs. She cracked
I'm
one
thinking
egg.
About this.
Do you think that the other egg also has a bloody half-formed chick in it?
Unlikely.
What if she found out? Like what? I mean, the twins. Like the eggs are twins, and Jaime and Cersei are twins.
Maybe that's what it is a metaphor for. Is that she is the half-formed chick.
I
was thinking about her sons, Joffrey and Tommen, but that makes more sense that it's Jaime and Cersei.
Cersei is doomed to a bloody end, but Jaime maybe is the egg. He has the power of rebirth and change, because that's what their arcs are about in Feast and Dance. Jaime is successfully changing and rejecting Cersei.
Whereas Cersei is stuck in the stagnation of trying to keep their father's ball rolling.
Yeah, Cersei cannot change. She cannot be reborn. And of course, it's just wonderful that, Cersei faces something uncomfortable and her immediate reaction is, bring me wine.
This makes me unhappy. Wine.
I'm experiencing a feeling. Give me depressives. Give me alcohol. That's Cersei's coping strategy.
Mood.
But hey, the honey and bread sound good.
Yeah.
Let's call it an F, eh?
Yep. Oh, it reminds me of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. No, let's not.
That's a whole other live stream.
Yeah, the half-formed chick in the egg. Let's move on to Aris Oakheart.
Aris Oakheart, the Kingsguard Knight sent to the City of Dawn to defend Myrcella Baratheon.
And he just ends up having lots of sex with the princess.
Honestly, it could be worse. So Aris is having a bit of culture shock being in Dawn. It's a radically different place with radically different food. A short man stood in an arched doorway, grilling chunks of snake over a brazier, turning them with wooden tongs as they crisped. The pungent smell of his sauces brought tears to the knight's eyes. The best snake sauce had a drop of venom in it, he had heard, along with mustard seeds and dragon peppers. Myrcella had taken to Dornish food as quick as she had to her Dornish prince, and from time to time Sir Aris would try a dish or two to please her. The food seared his mouth and made him gasp for wine, and burned even worse coming out than it did going in.
Thanks, George.
His little princess loved it, though. George does have a fair amount of...
Do we need to do a poop description stream as well?
Yeah, because of course, Daenerys
the more she drank, the more she shat.
Yeah, there's a lot of gastronomical misadventures described in these books, which I think is something that happens when a 70-year-old man writes a fantasy epic.
It's always thinking, time to poop.
How much of The Winds of Winter was written on the toilet, do you think? And of course,
I do not want to think about that when I'm eating it.
I don't want it.
So of course, like the venom in the food is the danger that Aris is in, and Myrcella can handle it, but Aris can't.
Well, Myrcella can handle it because she has her Dornish prince. Right, she's taken to this place, and she has, I suppose, Tristane's sort of not really protection, but like she is way more important to the people in power in Dorne than Aris Oakheart is.
Well, Aris has quite taken to his Dornish princess.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes for him.
Oh, yeah.
I just like that this is basically a white guy has gone to somewhere where the food's all spicy, and he's like, fucking hell, just give me bangers and mash.
Yeah. Well, that it happens. I think the crispy snake sounds amazing. The mustard seeds and dragon peppers. I think I'd die, but I would try it.
I would like it. I would die happy.
Yeah. So, yeah, you reckon B?
B.
In the Reach, men said that it was the food that made Dornish men so hot-tempered, and their women so wild and wanton. Fiery peppers and strange spices heat the blood. She cannot help herself. So there, it directly links the nature of the food to the stereotype of the impression of the culture and the woman.
Is this why English people are boring?
Yeah, too much mash. Turns your brain into mash.
The turnips.
Yeah. Someone in the live chat asks, how much of The Winds of Winter was written? George actually gave us the most specific update that he's ever given us.
58%.
But it was more than that, I think.
Yeah, it was, but like it was that strangely specific.
Yeah, he said, quote, I think I'm about 3/4 of the way done, maybe. And he said that in October 2022. 75% done, that's good.
And it only took him 11 years.
And he specifically said, then in December 2022, George said that he has about 1,100 to 1,200 pages written, and he needs to write 400 to 500 pages more. So that's even more than 75%. done, I think. And it's so specific. He's giving us the number of pages that he's written. So there's your answer.
Maybe he gave that interview on the toilet, so he had it right in front of him. And he could see, yep, there's that many pages.
He's got like a little writing desk there. Like a typewriter that folds down from the toilet. Oh boy. Should we do some super chats? I think we should do some super chats.
Yeah, sure.
Joseph says, why don't Dothraki ride cows? The milk and meat taste much better, and they would even have actual yogurt instead of the same old fermented mare milk.
It's an interesting point you bring up there, but the problem is that milk cows, meat cows, and riding cows are all bred separately. So you don't have the one cow that can do all of the... Oh, you mean, why don't they raise cows instead of raising horses? Ah.
But in a fantasy book, you could make a fictional fantasy cow that is all of those things in one.
That some culture domesticated and...
The mega cow.
And they ride these bulls into battle.
If the different cows performed a fusion dance to create...
they put on the Patara earrings.
A Super Saiyan cow. I'm just saying.
And defeat Boo.
Kiara says, leave capitalism out of a shy. I'm Mitch says, would you eat squisher meat?
I'd try it.
I think the squishers more likely to eat us. I think that squishers are like aliens. Like they're not even in our family tree because they're Lovecraftian monsters. So I don't think we even could like metabolize their meat, you know?
I don't know, they could still be carbon based.
Maybe, but they might not be the right kind of proteins for us to digest.
Well, then it'd just go through you.
If I ate a squisher, the more I eat, the more I'd shat. That would be the situation.
Well, you need to shit, so...
Harry says, is the real reason we won't see a shy because nothing grows there, so George can't write about chin grease?
Other things can dribble down people's chins.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. I mean, George does specify that a shy imports food. And I'm sure that includes grease. So I wouldn't worry, Harry.
Yeah. They've got a grease connection.
They've got a whole canal for grease. An aqueduct. The great aqueducts of Ashai bringing the grease. Like in the Simpsons, the grease... Willie's grease.
I was going to bring up Willie's grease as well.
I only said it so that you didn't get to it first. Stannis...
Grease me up, woman!
Stannis McNuff says, what do you guys think about Harry Potter? Do you want 5 hours of Harry Potter conversation? Because that's what you're going to get. Stannis says, I heard a theory that Hagrid is Voldemort's right hand. It's so tinfoil, I thought it was yours.
This sounds like another Jar Jar is a Sith sort of thing.
Do you think the wand that Hagrid had in that umbrella all those years was actually the Elder Wand all
must
along?
Be. Yeah,
confirmed. Yeah. Thanks for the super chat from Chug, who says, Brian Herbert finishes Game of Thrones. What do you think he'd do?
Make a lot of money.
Oh my god. I wish that it was a lot of money. I don't imagine, like, how many of those Dune sequel books can they be selling? Like, someone must be buying some, but, like, I've seen so few people say anything positive about them. It's just puzzling to me that they keep going. While Brian would find some extremely like specific lore detail, and he would take it very literally, and he would take it to its logical...
Oh my god, that's what we do.
Oh no. No, we're much more creative with it. We're much sillier with it.
Yeah, true. We're sillier than Brian Herbert, that's for sure.
I wish Brian Herbert was more silly. I haven't read any of the Brian Herbert books in entirety, so I should not say mean things. AK says, how did y'all decide to start streaming together? Well, I felt that Glidus had some dragon opinions that were wrong, and I needed to straighten that out.
And I thought that all of Alt Shrift X's content was boring as fuck, so I thought this would be more interesting if I got involved. So it was really just for mutual benefit there.
We decided to join forces to take down Alt Shift X.
Yeah. Only together can we destroy him.
Thanks for the super chat from
Melvin Dickweed. I feel like... every time.
Is Dickweed a serial super chatter?
I think so.
Which character do you think would taste the best? Is it bad if I say Sam? You'd
Well,
want
I guess we're presupposing cannibalism here, unless we can think of some non-human characters.
you want a character that's like free range, spent a lot of time outdoors, someone who's got like a good diet.
Jamie.
Jamie. Yeah, well,
pre-imprisonment.
Yeah. Robert's
John?
Rebellion era. John would taste like
Sadness.
teenage hormones and sadness.
Yeah, teen spirit. Tastes like Axe body spray. Robert mid-rebellion? Or maybe pre-rebellion because he's all stressed out and that does things to meat.
Yeah. I mean, do you want an ultra-muscular animal to eat? Or do you want one that's a bit more veined and marbled with fat?
Well, that depends on your tastes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if we want grease running down our chins, we're not going to get a lot of grease out of Robert's Rebellion.
And that's
era
what you want
Robert.
Sam for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoe Schmish says, theory. The mysterious house with the lemon tree is not in Bravos or with the Martells, but in Starfall. Climate and mystery of House Dane aids to this.
That sounds dangerously close to something that would support John being the son, or Daenerys being the son of Ned and Ashara, or something like that.
Or Brandon and Ashara.
Yeah, Brandon or Ashara. Because if Daenerys was at Starfall, like, what is the Starfall-Daenerys connection, you know? What if Daenerys is Wyler's daughter?
What would the fucking point of that be?
Look, this is how these theories go.
Why is she blonde? Why is she platinum blonde? Why does she have the Valyrian net? Is Wyler a secret Targaryen?
Well, there are blondes who aren't Targaryen.
Yeah, but like there's Targaryen blonde and then there's normal blonde.
Yeah, all right. A Lysine pirate hooked up with Wyler, and then...
so it has nothing to do with Ned.
Well, no, Ned was at Starfall. He says he was at Starfall. So Ned took baby
And we know that Wyler
Daenerys.
was the wet nurse from Edric Dane.
That's right. She was pretending to be the wet nurse when she was actually the mother of Daenerys. And then they swapped the real Daenerys. and the real Daenerys is John, because John maybe... Because there's no proof that the real there's no proof that the real Daenerys is female. Maybe the real Daenerys
sex with...
is actually... Oh no, but that's Wyler's daughter. That's an unrelated bastard. Like, the real actual child of Rhaela Targaryen is Jon Snow. Is male. Next super chat. Smith Black says, you should rate Gomes' sex scene descriptions. Beef swelling. Are you familiar with beef swelling as a Dune bad writing meme? Beef swelling is to Dune what Fat Pink Mast is to Song of Ice and Fire. It would be really fun to do like a top 10 cringy sex lines in famous classic genre fiction series. I think that would be fun.
Don't you have a series on comparing Frank and George to finish?
Don't get on my back about that. Thank you very much. I'm going to get right to that.
Let's not bring up unfinished series around here.
Yeah, you don't throw stones in that particular glass house. There's a lot of I would love to continue that Frank George thing though. Janik says posture check.
What? That goes for you all too. Yeah. All 889 of you. Why haven't you all pressed the like button?
Yeah, smash that like button. Janik says, will we see more of Ashai in the main series? What role do you think it will play? Thoughts on the Noam Chomsky
situation? Bro.
Do you think Janik might be the first person ever to seamlessly segue from Ashai to Noam Chomsky? Like how many Wikipedia degrees of separation are there between Ashai and Noam Chomsky? I love it. Well, answering your question, I don't think that we'll see Ashai or that it will play a role, personally.
As George has said, we may only see it through flashback and dream.
I think that the main thing Ashai might do is we might get more Melisandre flashbacks to her childhood in Ashai.
Mm-hmm.
We might learn things about Melisandre through that, and like Quaithe might tell us about Ashai through like Daenerys's dreams. Quaithe might enter Daenerys's dreams, and like if you know, I know that Glidus loves hearing about the Bloodstone Emperor, but you know, if it is that the Great Empire of the Dawn and the Bloodstone Emperor and Azor Ahai if that mythos is related to the events in the future books about defeating the White Walkers and the Prince was Promised, then maybe like Quaithe talking about Ashai and the Great Empire of the Dawn might tie into that indirectly. But I think basically George hasn't got any goddamn time for that. Like there's so much stuff that's happening in the cities that aren't on the opposite side of the world from where all the characters are. I
think what might happen is this isn't even Ashai. I'm thinking about the 5 forts of VT. As the White Walkers continue to descend south into Westeros, we might hear a distant, far-off report of something similar happening on the other side of the world. That could be fun. Yeah,
that's a good point, because there is that suspicious 5 forts that are a lot like the Wall. But I mean, Ashai is quite far away from the 5
I was
forts.
only saying that as like a reference of what I think we might hear of these very, very distant places going forward.
Yeah, part of me does still hold out hope that the 5 forts might be the Wall, and that, you know, when Jon, as the last hero, travels far beyond the Wall to go to the Heart of Winter, he might find that the Heart of Winter is in fact Ashai.
That's a bit fucky-wucky.
It's a bit fucky-wucky, but like the world is round, my dude. And like, yes, George Martin did once say that Westeros and Essos aren't connected, but he said that years before the Lands of Ice and Fire maps were made, and years before the World of Ice and Fire lore was made, and years before he came up with the 5 forts. So I think it's possible that that world is connected and that it might loop together, and I don't know what that would achieve though. Really, it'd be cool, but I don't know.
Are the wildlings the people who live in the grey wastes beyond ET?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, maybe, because like they talk about like the Shrikes and they talk about the Bone Town. I think that Bone Town might be that cave where Jon and Ygritte were that one time. Nice. But there are wildling cultures that have like the painted faces and the cave dwellers, like the wildling cave dwellers. Like they talk about all these really weird wildling cultures that exist. Those weird wildling cultures might be the Shrikes and the monsters and the bone folks. I mean, Bone Town, there are walrus bone wildling societies that build chariots out of walrus bone.
Yeah, and we know about the Lord of Bones.
We know about... Great point,
He is the Lord of Bone Town.
We know about the Lord of Bones. Maybe the Lord of Bones... Maybe Bone Town is just...
Wherever the Lord of Bones is at that specific point in time.
It's just Rattleshirt's Love Shack. And like that, they call it Bone Town. Like,
Bone Town.
Are we writing this down?
Well, I wonder what would happen if you did just look at Essos. You know, you tilt it 90 degrees. Does it match up at all with the... No, I don't think the geography would be... Because it's all supposed to be distant, far off.
Yeah, George said it's all here be dragons. It's not meant to be accurate. But I mean, there absolutely are lots of stuff that adds up. Like the forests of... Is it Morvos? The forests of... Muscovy, yeah. Which is like Moscow. But the forests of Muscovy, they talk about like necromancers and shapeshifters in those woods, and like shapeshifters and necromancers, it sounds like
Braziers and wargs,
skin changes and whites and stuff.
Yep.
So like I think George is deliberately creating.
Yeah, if they're not the same place physically, they are the same place. Like thematically.
And that's the problem with books. Like everything is metaphorically connected. So just because things are metaphorically connected doesn't mean that they are literally like plot connected. That's one of the differences between fiction and reality that I need to remind myself of sometimes. Because in reality, when there are like suspicious coincidences, you can sometimes assume that that's evidence that they are actually connected. But in fiction, there's always funny coincidences and parallels because it's fiction and because the author is...
Are you saying that when you notice two things aligning in the real world, do that? You can be a conspiracy theorist, but when you do that in fiction, you're being silly. Well, and you just need to think of it thematic. I think it's the other way around.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I did sort of say that backwards. I think
you're endorsing people to be conspiracy theorists in the real world.
Yeah, no, sorry, you're right. Yeah, I guess what I do mean is there are coincidences in the real world that mean nothing, whereas in fiction, when there are coincidences...
It's crafted. the author intentionally put that coincidence there.
Yeah, because the difference between fiction and reality
Most of the time
is that reality doesn't have an Illuminati master god designer creator who designed everything and everything's part of a plan. That's not true of reality, but it is true of fiction, because fiction does have a creator.
It is made by one mastermind guy.
Yeah.
Who's writing this all down on the toilet.
What if that's God? It's just like Macumber sitting on a toilet somewhere, right, weaving our fates.
Writing down this live stream as we speak.
See, if there was a God, he never would have ordained this. So I think that's the ultimate argument for, yeah. I hope that answers your question, Sean.
Thoughts on the Noam Chomsky situation?
I'll let you handle that one.
He has a funny name.
There you go. My thoughts on the Noam Chomsky situation are watch the on the YouTube channel.
Oh my God, he's actually answering it.
Juice Media. Watch the Juice Rap News episode that features Noam Chomsky. Which I think is the episode about the New World Order, which also has some incredible rap verses from Terrence Moonseed. So I think everything you need to know about Noam Chomsky,
It's all there for you.
You will learn in that video.
John Patelshik says, my father did eat a crow when he lived in Australia as kid. He said it wasn't bad. I don't think I've ever had a passerine. It could be good.
Don't just say passerine as though that's not a humble brag.
Corvid.
What's a passerine?
It's a songbird.
A songbird?
Yeah, which is the overwhelming majority of bird species. Maybe I have. You want to know how to cook a galah?
How do you cook a galah?
Alright, here's how you cook a galah. You start a fire, put a couple of rocks on the fire, then chuck the galah on top. When the rocks are soft, you can eat the galah.
Can you eat the rocks?
Give it a shot.
Nice.
Fuck. I meant to press that. There we go.
I wanted those elephants.
Thanks for the super chat from James and from Mikey Fake Name, who says, hey Swift and Clybo, currently rewatching the show with a bro who's never seen it. Got me wondering, was there a change from the books that you two actually like more in the show?
Ooh.
My go-to answer with this is that the scene with Robert and Cersei, where they talk about their relationship and their regrets, and Cersei saying, you know, was it ever possible for us to be in love truly? And Robert says, no. Like that, I thought that was
It's a great scene.
Incredible scene.
I also really like the show-only scene where Jorah confronts Viserys as he's stealing the dragon eggs on his way out of Vaes Dothrak.
That is one of your all-time favorite scenes.
It's such a good scene. It's so fucking good.
I just love when the actors just get out there and they just act at each other.
Yeah.
You know, they just act their pants off at each other. It's fantastic. I love to watch that.
Actors, who would have thought they're good at acting? But those aren't really changes, they're more additions, which I guess are changes. You can't really add to something without altering it, but it's not what I would consider, you know, we've taken something and morphed it and here it is again, but different. Are there any like actual changes to things that are presented in the books that you prefer? I've got one.
Yeah, tell me.
Baelor.
The episode.
Yeah. Ned spots Arya.
Yeah.
And points her out to Yoren. So basically Ned saves Arya in the show. That doesn't happen in the book.
And that's subtle.
Yeah.
And it just gives that extra fucking gut punch and that extra emotional connection for Arya.
And like Ned's final two acts are to point out where Arya is to Yoren, saving Arya, and to like falsely confess to treason, saving Sansa.
Yeah. I think similarly in season 3, there's some good conversations with Ygritte and Jon that are just wonderful because Kit Harington and Rhoda Leslie are obviously just huge chemistry, having a huge amount of fun, deeply just going for it, and it's just a joy to watch, and it creates
going to Bone Town,
more characterization and more weight in that relationship. But yeah, again, like it's not a dramatic change, it's more of just an addition. It's just fleshing stuff out more. Bao in the live chat says that I love show Marjorie much more. And yeah, I think that's a good example because like in the book, Marjorie does not have much agency. We don't really know how much Marjorie is involved in the Tyrell plots in a lot of ways. Like, she's only like 16 or something. She's very young in the books. Whereas in the show, she's an actual like active political player. Yeah. And I think that works. I think that's good.
Able to engage with Cersei in snarkiness. Cersei in the books thinks that Marjorie is engaging with her in snarkiness, but is she?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of one of the biggest consequences of like that change in the show, making Marjorie an actual active player.
Yeah, it gives reason and validity to Cersei's paranoia, whereas in the book, it's like, this is a little kid that you're scheming against, Cersei. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Cersei is a lot more delusional in the book, whereas in the show, she kind of has some grounds.
We talked about this earlier, yeah.
Yeah. You're gaslighting me in a conversation about delusion. That's...
No, we did talk about it earlier. You're gaslighting me.
Am I?
Yeah, we talked about earlier how Cersei is more grounded in this show because she's a cartoonish villain in A Feast for Crows, which is the book we're talking about, the food descriptions of in this live stream.
I think I just gaslighted myself. I think I said in a prior live stream that the only person capable of tricking themselves is Cersei Lannister, and I guess we can add Alt Shift X to that list. Thank you for the super chat from Vali, who says, "Hello, Top Shagger Swift and Horseman Gligo."
Are you the Top Shagger?
Yeah, well, you know, I won some trophies in my local province as a younger man, and yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks for the super chat from Queen of Vanamt, who says, "Do you want to have a go at that word?"
Burgrafenamt.
That's a lot more convincing. Been rereading A Song of Ice and Fire these past months, and there hasn't been a greasy chin that I haven't read with your voices in my head. Here's to celebrate the first life I managed to catch.
Nice. Welcome,
Your Grace. Thanks for the super chat from Storm's End Reactor Operator.
That's good. That's a good one.
Who says prime working hours here in
Imagine, no, it is a nuclear plant, but Homer Simpson is the safety inspector.
I was gonna say, I knew you'd say that. The light on the map marked Ashai starts blinking, and then Grimes comes in, and it's who's the Castellan of Storm's End? Courtney Penrose comes in, and he's Grimesy.
He happened to like whores.
Thanks for doing these. Have a beer on me. Thank you, Storms. Thank you, Kirk Novak, who says fermented milk is delicious. I'm Polish, and we drink it a lot. Can you do like homemade, or do you buy it in shops?
I think you can ferment milk at home.
Thanks for the super chat from Spencer Crow, who says, "Thanks to Swift for the abridged videos. I switched to the audiobooks from where they leave off, and now I'm almost done feast. Cheers."
One day there will be a way to consume all of A Song of Ice and Fire through your bullshit abridged series.
I cannot imagine something more existentially...
It's like, people tell me that they consumed the latter half of Game of Thrones through my videos, and it's like, I mean, you're not losing much, but...
Yeah, that sounds like a lot more fun, if you ask me. Thanks for the super chat from MHMD, who says, "Why did they call it Rupert Rebellion and call him king? He just killed Rhaegar, the girl whom was kidnapped, and the father and brother whom were killed are Stark. It should be the Stark Rebellion." Well,
looking back on it as a historical event in the future, Robert becomes the king afterwards, and it was like through his rage against Rhaegar that a lot of, the motivation for the war came from. So, Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah, history's written by the victors, and Robert was
won.
the victor.
Yeah. You could just as easily call it the Arryn Rebellion.
If Jaime didn't get off that chair when Ned found him on the Iron Throne, maybe it would have been called Jaime's Rebellion, because Jaime was the heroic knight who killed the evil King Aerys, so maybe Jaime's the real hero of the story. If the Lannisters really put their foot down... if they held on to King's Landing after the sack, maybe it would have been Jaime's rebellion. Or if Ned took the throne, maybe it would have been Ned's rebellion. And if Wyler got onto the throne...
Here's the real answer. Alliteration. It's called Robert's Rebellion because it's alliterative.
It rolls off the rung. Dirt Person says, "You haven't lived until you've eaten squirrel. No irony. It's delicious."
I haven't even seen a squirrel.
Really?
They don't hang out where I hang out.
Thanks for the super chat from Joshua, who says, iron cups, like iron skillets, increase iron in blood, which is essential to hemoglobin's oxygen carrying capacity.
Do you think that the Norvosi are otherwise lacking in oxygen, iron, in hemoglobin iron content?
Yeah, if they don't eat enough cups, they asphyxiate.
Are you supposed to eat the cup after you drink the nasa?
Crunch, crunch, crunch. The nasa is really just to help the cup go down. It lubricates the cup so you can eat it. I think that's perfect logic. And since trees are tall, if I eat more trees, I will grow taller.
Ooh. Some trees aren't tall.
Yeah, well, don't eat the small ones,
Oh,
or
I
you'll
see.
shrink.
So we're eating redwoods,
Yes.
mountain ash.
Yes. No bonsais. Thanks for the super chat from Andre and from Fleude, who says, hi, Mr. X and Glumbo. Would love to know if George describes the food that he orders at restaurant like he does in the books. I would hope so.
Yeah, he's got to be doing something this past decade.
I hope they have a lot of serviettes where George eats. A lot of napkins.
For him to write down his descriptions.
No, for
Or
him
to
to wipe up
all
his
the
greasy
grease.
chin. Shall we do a food description?
Let us continue with the meat of today's project. And carbs. We're in Samwell 2 now. Where, as you've so politely noted, sailing south with Gilly on Blackboard.
And Amon.
Amon is there as well, Maester Amon. Sam says of the food in Bravos, because they land in Bravos around here. Oh, they're about to land in Bravos, isn't that right? The food is very good too, especially the fish. They have all kinds of clams and eels and oysters, fresh from their lagoon.
I only eat it fresh from the lagoon.
If it's not fetched up from the lagoon today, I won't have it.
If it's not from a lagoon, it's not lagoon. No, that was quite bad.
Wasn't that good, yeah.
Not so good. The clams and the eels and the oysters evoke the oysters, clams, and cockles.
Oysters, clams, and cockles.
That Aya be selling on her grind, on her 9-to-5 grind, on her hustle. Seafood hustle. You ever done the seafood hustle?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't look it up on Urban Dictionary, though. I think that sounds tasty.
It's just a bunch of seafood, yeah.
Just a bunch of seafood.
Well, S is for seafood, but I wouldn't call it S. It's just like
I wouldn't
pretty
give it an
good.
S.
Maybe
Yeah.
A or B.
Yeah. It's a little nondescript.
Yeah, let's give it a B.
The motion of the boat was stirring up the eggs and bacon
Oh, God.
and fried bread that Sam had eaten before the ship set out. All at once, he could not stand the cabin one more instant. He pushed himself back to his feet and clambered up the ladder to give his breakfast to the sea. The sickness came on Sam so strongly that he did not stop to gauge which way the wind was blowing, so he retched from the wrong rail and ended up spattering himself.
You're right what you know, George.
Yes, gave his breakfast to the sea.
It sounds like an Ironborn ritual. That's why they get so drunk in the evening, so that the next day they can return it to the sea.
I feel like George finds such poetic ways of saying gross things. Like, even when he's describing something gross, he can't help but do it in, like, a lovely poetic way.
What do we think of this food description?
Well, it sounded great before it was eaten.
Well, here the thing is, eggs, bacon, and fried bread, sure. But the sentence starts with the motion of the boat was stirring. So it's already off to a... Like, I never once expected this to be a pleasant experience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, the context tells you that this is a bad eggs and bacon situation. Which is rare, but potent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean...
He gets covered in his own vomit.
Yeah, he gets covered in his own vomit. Maybe this is an F.
Yeah, it could... Yeah, let's...
That's like
give
salty as well, because of the
Yeah.
sea. Yeah.
sea salt, bile, not a great... Like the palate just doesn't really mix.
And Sam probably hasn't even got a toothbrush to, like, clean himself up either.
Did Hob give him... No, well, he could just wash his teeth with some of that cheese.
Ugh. Oh, no. They ate oaten porridge in the mornings, peas porridge in the afternoons, and salt beef, salt cod, and salt mutton at night, and washed it down with ale. There's nothing worse than salty food when you've already had too much salt.
Yeah.
Why don't they combine the oaten porridge and the peas porridge?
That sounds terrible.
But then it would at least be like texturally interesting.
A bit of heterogeneity in your meal there. I think it's because, it's there to like pace out the different meals. Because if you have the same mix of oaten and peas and porridge like every time, then each of those meals is the same. Life becomes monotonous and you're driven to isolation.
My goodness. Why don't you just put the salt cod and the salt mutton and the salt beef in
the oaten porridge? Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you combine it into one good meal instead of individual bad meals, like, I feel like combining it's more fun.
Here's what you do, Sam. Get the blender.
Will it blend?
Don't breathe this.
Yeah, this is an easy E. The boy needs a bit of seasoning, that's all, his father had told Lord Redwine that night. But Redwine's fool rattled his rattle and replied, "Aye, a pinch of pepper, a few nice cloves, and an apple in his mouth." Thereafter, Lord Randall forbade Sam to eat apples.
Sorry, are we ranking Sam as food here?
Yes, that is correct. The food description
we already discussed this.
We did discuss whether we would eat Sam, yeah.
And honestly, Redwine's fool has just gussied him up a little bit.
He's sold it to us. Pinch of pepper, cloves, apple.
Okay, so we're discussing cannibalism here, but
yes,
a couple of apples, some cloves, pepper.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a C.
Fucking hell!
Like, I'm not saying it's great.
I don't want to eat another.
Yeah, I'm not pro cannibalism, but like apples are healthy. So what do you want me to do?
Pass on the guy.
What am I supposed to do?
You've left me with no option.
Naga's Cradle. That's a good place. That's where the Ironborn party and hold their democratic elections.
Yeah.
And so Victarion feasts the Ironborn, because every good political campaign needs to begin with, pressing the flesh, meeting the people, shaking some babies and kissing some hands.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes? So Victarion feasts the Ironborn captains on roast kid, salted cod, and lobster. Aeron came as well. He ate fish and drank water, while the captains quaffed enough ale to float the Iron Fleet.
I like that expression.
Again, very poetic for very mundane things.
He ate fish and drank water.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Isn't that wonderful? Because even like the part of the sentence that is about Aeron's sparse and spare and ascetic lifestyle is itself a sparse and spare sentence and simple language and sentence.
And then
structure.
the next part of the sentence is like notably flowery. Quaffed enough ale to float the Iron Fleet. Like it's a metaphor as well. Like what a stark difference in the one set. That's wonderful writing.
I think George is good at writing.
Such good prose. What a fucking madman.
I guess you only have to write for 50 years before you get good at it.
Best
like
get
that.
on it.
Yeah, but I may have already.
Been writing for 50 years.
Might have done. You don't know.
All right, what do we think? Roast kid, so young goats.
I feel like goat and fish and lobster is an odd combination.
It is, but all of those things are like good.
It's a lot of protein and not much else.
These are Iron Men. These are the captains of the Iron Fleet.
I mean, the lobster would be good, and the ale. Like it'd all go down good with the ale. It just
sounds fine.
Yeah.
B.
Yeah. I think it's a B. It's a B. So in The Queen Maker, Ariane Martell, daughter of Doran Martell, kidnaps Princess Marcella and has a harebrained scheme to crown Marcella as Queen of Westeros in order to deliberately start a war.
How could this go wrong?
And if you think that Ariane sounds like an absolute YOLO wizard, she is. She sure is. But what is there to eat, Glidus?
We have dates and cheese and olives and lemon sweet to drink.
And then after that, Marcellus split an orange with spotted silver, whilst Garen ate olives and spit the stones at Dre. Well, that all sounds quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess part of the context is that Ariane is trying to make this a fun, tasty picnic for Marcella.
Yep.
So that Marcella doesn't feel like she's being kidnapped.
It's an important part of the kidnapping process, is tricking your victim into thinking they're not being kidnapped.
Yeah, that's why you got to bring lemonade. Dates and cheese and olives and lemonade and orange. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. I'd give that an A.
Yep. But then...
There's a dark turn. If you thought George was going to go 3 chapters without puking, you're wrong.
She found herself on her hands and feet in the sand, shaking and sobbing and retching up her supper.
Ugh.
I don't want it.
I'm trying to remember what actually precipitates that puking. And precipitates, in hindsight, is an interesting choice. Yeah, right. So this is actually the moment where the plot gets foiled and Aris Oakheart gets killed by Ario Hotar.
Yep.
So that's why she pukes. All that sweet, tasty, nice stuff that she concocted all comes turning into a disaster.
Didn't Tyrion also vomit up his breakfast when his champion, Oberyn Martell, was killed in his valiant effort?
He sure did. A lot of puking. Puking is an emotional response. Like, no one pukes just because of food poisoning in this series.
No.
It's all because of feelings.
What is puking but the body saying, I don't want it?
Well, no, I think that George is someone to whom food is lust for life and joy and nourishment and family and is everything good. And that's why puking, giving up the food, is
a rejection of all those wonderful things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Arya, goodness.
What are you doing?
Well, we're at the House of Black and White, the House of something or other. She got along well enough with the cook. Uma would slap a knife into her hand and point at an onion, and Arya would chop it. Uma would shove her toward a mound of dough, and Arya would knead it until the cook said stop, which was the first Braavosi word she learned. Did you make that note?
No.
No, that's in the book in parentheses.
Yeah, that's sort of a that George doesn't normally do parentheses like that, but
this
he
feels
did.
like it's scribbled in note.
I think normally he would use like an M dash or an N dash or a separate sentence. It's weird to put it in the same sentence in brackets like that.
It almost feels like it's something he wrote in the margin that like just didn't get incorporated. This is very strange. Uma would hand her a fish, and Arya would bone it and fillet it and roll it in the nuts she was crushing. The brackish waters that surrounded Braavos teemed with fish and shellfish of every sort, the kindly man explained. A slow brown river entered the lagoon from the south, wandering through a wide expanse of reeds, tidal pools, and mudflats. Clams and cockles abounded hereabouts, mussels and muskfish, frogs and turtles, mud crabs and leopard crabs and climber crabs, red eels, black eels, striped eels, lampreys and oysters, all made frequent appearances on the carved wooden table where the servants of the many-faced god took their meals. Some nights Uma spiced the fish with sea salt and cracked peppercorns, or cooked the eels with chopped garlic. Once in a great while, the cook would even use some saffron.
Yum.
Yum-o. Seafood feast.
Isn't it ironic that the place of death has such great food?
That kind of shits in the face of what you were just talking about, doesn't it?
About
food being lust for life.
Yeah, but this is the House of Black and White, my dude.
Yeah, there's black and white here.
It's the
There's
place of death and life. And of course, when we eat food, are we not eating the dead?
Sometimes.
Those crabs and eels, those are not live crabs and eels.
Unless.
If you're eating meat, you're eating death.
Except for octopus that one time.
Ah, you did the old
I didn't do that.
Live octopus trick.
I don't want to do that.
Just as a prank.
It's a prank, bro.
Yeah, I think George is doing a life and death duality sort of a thing here.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
For a death cult.
Well, it's homely. You know, it's a homely death cult.
Yeah.
Would you eat all of that?
Oh, maybe not all of it.
Frogs and turtles? I feel like I might be a bit overwhelmed by how much.
Yeah, I couldn't eat all of it.
Yeah.
What's a leopard crab? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I like how he combines real things with made up things. There's a mud crab in there.
Yeah. Those are real, I think.
I think so. In Tamriel. The eels in chopped garlic sound great. So yeah, all of this food sounds wonderful, but then afterwards, there's the small fact that this place is a death cult where people go to commit suicide.
Oh, they are real.
And what, mud crabs?
Leopard crabs.
And so it's explained that the dead men's clothes and coins and valuables went into a bin for sorting. Their cold flesh would be taken to the lower sanctum, where only the priests could go. What happened in there, Arya was not allowed to know. Once, as she was eating her supper, a terrible suspicion seized hold of her, and she put down the knife and stared suspiciously at a slice of pale white meat. The kindly man saw the horror on her face. "It is pork, child," he told her. "Only pork."
Doop-de-doop-de-doo.
What do you think they do with all the corpses in the House of Black and White?
Yep.
Pass.
Yeah. F.
Do you want to do a lightning round of super chats?
Yes. Patrick Mitchell says, as fellow Aussies, do you remember those flavor straws you drink milk with? Milk magic. So I ask, what food description would turn into one of those milk magic straws? I think I remember those. Like a chocolate flavored straw that you drink your carton of milk with.
I suppose George would want you to drink grease through a straw, and it would become flavored grease.
I would love to read George describing fairy bread.
He would describe every color of the hundreds and thousands
Blue and
individually.
red and orange and pink and green, and some were even indigo.
He would say, no, they were the color of lapis lazuli and rubies and the sun.
Topaz glinting in the sunset of doors. This is sprinkles on a piece of white bread.
Sky blue and leaf green and the silvery shining. Thanks for the super chat from Maria, who says, thanks for the great content with the best sidetracks and random thoughts here and there among the insightful commentary.
What could you possibly mean by sidetracks and random thoughts?
Is Maria talking about a different live stream?
Must be.
Must have mistakenly talking to some other live stream that has insightful commentary on it. Thank you to Pizza Priest, who says Glimbus and Swifty.
Swifty and Glimbus.
Thank you, Elliot, who says, hey, Glork and Shaft.
We're renaming everything now.
Glork and Shaft.
Who in A Song of Ice and Fire would you most and least like to organize a surprise name day feast for? Oh, I'm organizing the feast for their name day?
Yeah, sounds like it. I would love to organize a surprise name day feast for Arya Stark because she is precious and deserves the best in the world. True. But I guarantee that as soon as we all shout surprise, Arya would be startled and would put needle through my heart.
Yeah, someone's face is getting stabbed in that situation.
Yeah, like she's already done that with the stable boy in the Red Cape. So yeah, that might not go so well.
I think Sam Tarly would be great to organize a feast for because it's basically you just name a bunch of foods and he's there for it.
I think he would feel uncomfortable with being the center of attention. He's so
unless he knew the people there cared for him.
Yeah, it would need to be like a small and
gathering.
Safe and intimate gathering for Sam Tarly. He's so nervous in the books. Like the show didn't really do it, but in the books he's constantly stammering and stuttering and I'm so frightened.
Who would be the easiest to plan a feast for?
Tyrion would be impossible because he would find out. He would figure it out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a surprise to him. And also he has high standards.
He'd gloat to you about how he figured it out.
Tyrion would plot a rival surprise party. Like you would try to go surprise, but he wouldn't be there. And then he'd surprise you with his own surprise feast. And he'd make some witty comment about it and how only he could surprise himself with such fine dining or something ridiculous.
Prick.
Let's organize a surprise name day feast for George Martin. Let's do that.
Okay.
We'll just pour a bucket of grease on him like the Nickelodeon Slime Awards.
September 20th. Can we get to Santa Fe by September 20th?
Well, that's an interesting idea. Thanks for the super chat from Pain Causing Samurai, who says, annoyed they didn't follow the alliteration. Beets and bread and bloody beef and barley beer. Bouncing balls betwixt the bewilderment of the bell of the ball.
Beans.
Thank you.
Beans.
It is beans. Thanks for the donation from Storm's End Reactor Operator, who says +1 for doing a multi-hour Archer stream. It would be fun to do like a retrospective on Archer.
Yeah, once the whole thing's done.
Because I feel like we have sort of different perspectives on Archer, and I feel like there's good bits, there's bad bits, there's things that I'd like to revisit about it.
Maybe we could discuss it through the veneer of ranking the seasons.
Ooh.
Because we always have to provide some stupid framework for our discussions, don't we?
As if we need to give ourselves permission to just talk about the thing.
Anyway, this food description. Sabino says, if you killed a dragon and wanted to eat it, do you think its meat would need to be cooked, or is it a pre-cooked situation?
That's a fantastic question.
It depends entirely on how the dragon's fire is. So, in A Song of Ice and Fire, dragons are said to be fire-made flesh. So I think their meat being cooked already makes sense.
I think they are hot. But I mean, if the meat was cooked, their muscles wouldn't function. Like cooking is like damage to the cells,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So I don't think they could be cooked, but they have been exposed to heat. So I think that dragons are made of flesh that is not...
Here's the thing. If the flesh is hot all the time, is it bacteria resistant?
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, do you even have to cook it?
Interesting. You can eat it like salmon or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or chicken.
It would be like the finest... People listen to what we say, Glidus. We cannot go and tell people.
Do not eat raw chicken.
Public health announcement. But dragon, A-okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you have our personal guarantee that if you eat dragon, you will not get salmonella poisoning. Thank you, Brinland321, who says, vibing with Aris after my Vindaloo last night. Help. If you... Oh, yeah.
You're writing the winds of winter, are you?
That's right. That's what I'm going to say next time I need to take a dump. I just need to go write a few POV chapters. Be right back.
Sir Bob Muscles says, hello, Sir Alt Swift XXX _Glidus _XXX. Would you consider playing one of the A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones mods for Mount and Blade Bannerlord? A CK3 co-op would be good too. Have you played any Mount and Blade?
Is that the third person like fighting sword?
It's a knightly game where you're a knightly person and go about doing knightly things.
It's like an action thing, not like an... Yeah, I think I've seen something like it.
I've heard that the mod for it is very, very, very good. I have not played it.
Have you played Valheim? Is that what it's called? It's like a third-person medieval fighting warriors thing.
I also have not played that.
Yeah.
I spent too long playing Fable.
Thanks for the super chat from Matt.
Oh, CK3 co-op would be great, yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that, especially considering that you have no idea how the game works.
Yeah, I have not played Crusader Kings. I mean, I made one attempt ages ago. I pressed the buttons. I can't tell you what they did, but I did press the buttons. Thanks for the super chat from Matt Lentini, who says, hello, Schleidus and Gwift. If Adam is secretly Lenor, does that mean Alan is Sir Carl Corrie? You'll both rock like Camp Rock.
Well, thank you. I really hope that none of this is true.
Yeah, so Lenor is the fella, the son of Corlys, who decided to rowboat Guilliman his way out of Westeros in House of the Dragon Season 1.
Indeed.
And
his gay boyfriend, Carl Corrie.
Carl Corrie. Oh no, are they? Oh, and Adam and Alan are brothers, aren't they?
Yes.
What? What? Come on, Matt Lentini, you're better than
What are we
this.
doing here?
What are we doing here? Do we really need more incest in this show? Because the theory is sort of mild spoilers. I mean, you should explain this. You're making hot D videos.
Am I?
I think so.
Who said?
Because Adam is a guy who is supposedly the son of Laenor,
But also supposedly the son of Corlys.
Yeah, and is probably actually the son of Corlys. And some people are saying that in the TV show, Adam will just be played by the actor who played Laenor. He'll just be like, I'm back, but it's not me. I'm a different guy. I'm not Laenor. My name's Adam. And I guess Carl can say, I'm not Carl. I'm Sir Alan. But then if they're secretly boning, they're like boyfriends who are pretending to be brothers.
I don't know why you'd pretend to be... I mean, I guess it's to save face from Corlys. Pretending to be the bastard son of a very, very gay man.
I guess there's a twisted logic to it. Like, if you're trying to find an excuse to be able to stay together, pretending to be brothers might be a way to
I guess
do that. But yeah, it sounds like an awful fanfic.
Yeah, I just hope they're different characters. Don't we have an actor for one of them already?
Yeah, I find it confusing that this particular theory is such a popular meme. I don't really know why. I mean, I think part of it is it because Laenor surviving and rowboating away is a change from the books, as far as we know. And the complication is that Laenor's dragon Seasmoke is still alive. So how can anyone else claim Seasmoke? We don't really know how the dragon logic works there. And will Hot D explain it? Can anyone else claim Seasmoke while Laenor is alive? That is the question, and that is why some people suggest that Laenor is Adam.
Yeah, whereas my solution to the dragon logic conundrum there is this will be how we find out that Laenor is dead. If he, like, that's what I think might happen in the show. Yeah. It's so fun that we get to theorize about a show again.
Right? And a show that's actually good.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Sean McCoy says, do you guys ever feel like A Song of Ice and Fire is an alternate history in medieval America, the North being Canada and Dawn being Mexico? Essos positioned like Europe.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also very, very European.
Yeah.
It's an American take on British medieval history.
I think, isn't it Dave Reads A Song of Ice and Fire, that YouTube channel, who's doing a read through of the books? I think I haven't actually watched or listened, but I've heard that the Dornish characters have southern accents.
Oh, that's awesome.
It actually works pretty well, from what I've heard.
Yeah, no, that's kind of fun. I can see that being interesting. Yeah.
I wish language and accent. I wish there was more fun had in the adaptations of Westeros. Solid Earl says, would Sir Gregor or Strong Belwas win in an eating competition? No contest. It's Strong Belwas.
And I don't think Gregor has really got much of an appetite at this point.
Yeah, being a zombie.
Yes, Bobby Muscle's not very hungry.
Yeah.
Carver says, even the stone in a shy is greasy. It's George's paradise. Thank you, Carver Tate, who says, do you think if the greasy stone were wrapped in bacon, George would eat it?
I don't think you'd need to. He'd just eat it. There's no need for the bacon.
Yeah, cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat from Glidus Snow, who says, I learned how to hunt, smiley face.
Well done, my boy. One day you may be worthy of my name.
You didn't teach little Glidus how to hunt?
Pyrofessional is a weird cat boy. Thank you, MJA. Zimmermja?
Thank you, Marcella Deliveria, who says, since this is clearly a theory stream, if you could ask George R. R. Martin to confirm or deny one theory, what would you ask about?
Well, when we go see him on his birthday, September the 20th, when we go to Santa Fe, hang on, what's the side note there?
The side note... Oh,
you've been mispronouncing it.
I have been serially mispronouncing the name Marcella Deliverer as Marcella Deliveria.
But apparently it's liked, so don't change what you do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like now every time I see the name, I'm going to pronounce it differently just to iterate on it further, just for fun.
Well, if I did meet George, I don't think I'd want to ask him about any of this stuff, but I suppose you're asking me what I would do. Like, if I had to pick one theory to confirm or deny. Do you have any ideas?
I would ask George about the Harangans.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about them?
Are they on the Vulcan spaceship? No, I'd
love to ask him about something that isn't A Song of Ice and Fire too.
Yeah, but I'd like to look into some of his other kooky books. Rob's will would be interesting to ask about. Like, does Rob's will legitimize Jon Snow? I think that's a probability.
Does it have instructions for throwing Arya a name day feast?
Who is the ghost in Winterfell? The ghost in Winterfell is something that George doesn't really have to explain if he doesn't want to, but it would be cool if he did.
Who's the Shrouded Lord? Did Euron really walk the Dusky Woman?
Yeah. I've got a bad feeling the answer is yes.
It very well could be. That, like, it's not as much of a meme as it's made out to be.
Yeah, no, I hate it, but, like, Euron has done worse.
And George has written weirder.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Arkan Daddy says, I'm not going to read that variation of my name.
I believe it's pronounced Glimbacy.
Like the romantic composer Debussy. Glimbussy. Your Madness cover is amazing. Thank you very much.
Where can people hear your Madness cover?
Oh, so that's
Glidus?
a cover of a Muse song that's uploaded to my second channel, Glimbus.
Glimbus. We'll put a link in the description. Thank you, Ross, who says, when was the last time you had an F-tier meal in real life? How greasy were them chins?
You got one?
I once was on a traveling trip when everyone except me got very bad food poisoning, and I was starting to feel left out. So I ate the weirdest, grodiest looking street food, gas station food that I could find to try and, have some solidarity with my brethren who were either, pooping continuously or not pooping at all for weeks on end. And those were some F-tier meals.
This sounds like an It's Always Sunny plot. Like, everyone else gets food poisoning and Charlie feels left out, and he just eats something he found under the bridge to join in.
Cat food. Have you seen the new It's Always Sunny episodes?
Yeah, I watched the latest season literally yesterday.
Nice. I quite like.
Yeah, it was very good, the trip to Ireland.
Well, I'm talking about the new season.
Oh, season 16. I haven't watched that.
Season 16.
No.
I quite enjoyed season 16, episode 1 in particular.
I'll watch that soon, I guess.
But I'm not comfortable with Mac not having facial hair.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he looks like the Mythic Quest guy now. I forget the actor's name.
I feel like a part of us always knew that he looked like the Mythic Quest guy.
Well, it's just because they're played by the same person. Thanks for the super chat from Andre, who says, thank you, Schwofto and Glambo, for the hours of fun. Favorite non-fantasy or sci-fi books?
What's a book?
I think it's like the... I have been dipping into Jorge Luis Borges' Ficciones, which I clearly can't pronounce correctly.
You fucking nerd.
I know. And he writes these cute stories that are about stories and people who are kind of going crazy, and it's really fun and strange, and everyone's different, and it's from like a very sort of different time and place than I'm familiar with, and so I really enjoy that. And my favorite story from that is called Tlön Akbar Orbis Tertius, and it's this mind-bending short story about reality and books and things turning inside out.
Righto.
And that's really cool. I guess that is a fantasy book, sort of.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I guess it is a bit fantastical. So, yeah, that's my answer anyway.
I don't know if I could choose a favorite non-fantasy or sci-fi book, because all of my favorite books are fantasy.
Oh, yeah, well, favorite. Yeah, God. Yeah, favorite. Jesus.
God, we'll be here a while.
Yeah. We'll get back to you, Rondre.
Yeah. Oh, can I describe my most recent F tier meal?
Please.
So family Christmas a couple years ago, I have an uncle who's a bit of a stooge, a bit of a stinge, and I guess he just didn't feel like affording enough gas to cook all the chicken. So he served us all. It was cold, kind of sopping, undercooked chicken.
Yeah.
And as recently discussed, don't eat undercooked chicken.
So that explains your New Year's Eve.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for the super chat from Ben Mansfield, who says, "Hi Glimbo and Schwifto. So glad to catch a hotly anticipated stream. I've wondered who Schwift's favourite character is. Glidus clearly favours Orain."
True. So true.
Well, I favour... Who's the pirate king who people say is Orain Waters?
Oh, the Lord of the Waters.
Well, my favourite character is the Lord of the Waters, which is clearly a different character to Orain. Favourite character? I mean, come on.
It's so
Favourite
hard.
character? I'm
so envious of people who can answer this question.
Yeah,
How do you do it?
Yeah. Look, I mean, Tyrion is one of the best written characters of all time. Of all time. No, Tyrion's very good. But I mean, yeah, it's just a silly question. It's too hard of a question. Cersei is enormously fun in Feast.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot going... I mean, all the Lannisters are just great. There's so much going on with all the Lannisters. I don't know, Wyman is fun. Wyman is cool and layered and interesting. Stannis has... I'm just going to list every character.
Shagwell.
So, yeah, all right, I know who is not my favorite character, and Shagwell is it. Yeah, Spike also asks, what are your favorite characters? Yeah,
POV characters. That is a bit easier to sort out, but it's still fraught with danger.
Who's your least favorite POV character?
Oh, gosh.
And why is it Areo Hota?
I actually kind of like the guy who watches that, because of the promise of seeing something later on. I like the promise of Areo Hota.
I think Aris Oakheart is one of my least favorite POV characters. Because I don't find him all that likable or interesting.
He's just sort of a guy.
There's nothing wrong with him. It's just obviously like he's a camera who George Martin made up to fulfill a plot purpose.
And like, it is interesting seeing that plot through someone else's eyes for a bit, but it feels as though the story could have been told between Ariana and Areo.
Yeah, the more obvious thing would have been just to have Ariane do it.
Yeah.
Her POV. But, yeah, Aris doesn't work for me all that well. I think Tyrion is definitely one of the most fun POV characters. And Arya. Arya's wonderful. The King Who Knitted. Love the streams. First time chatter. Are the children of Robert that Cersei ate part of the food description rating?
The sorry?
She, you know how...
Oh.
Yeah.
I get it.
He did a sex joke.
A finger in the bum.
Thanks for the super chat from Mazor, who says, just finished the first book in the abridged series. Are there any plans to continue it? Yes.
Woo! We did it!
Yeah, there will be more episodes. I can't promise when, but there will be more. It has evidently been on the back burner. There are many things at work. There are many plates that are spinning, but I would love to do more Game of Thrones abridged.
And some of those plates have foods that we must describe.
That's correct.
Wealth Wolf says, Gindle, will you give us a food description of T-Wow after you've eaten it? I plan on doing more than just describing it.
Yeah, I'm expecting a documentary.
That's basically what's going to happen.
I would like to do a tier ranking of the Alt Shift X and Glidus nicknames that live chatters have made up for us.
I'm a fan of Gindle.
Gindle's got a ring to it. Thanks for the super chat from Thomas, who says, finally caught one live. Even better, because I'm cooking breakfast. Have a couple Cokes on me, boys. Glimbo and Swifty. Thanks, Thomas.
I'll have to enjoy Coke.
I think we're going to do a lightning round to finish up some of these live streams, and then we'll wrap it up because we have been talking for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
almost.
short one today, guys.
Short one. Just a quick 2.5 hours of talking about food.
Oh, Lachlan says, "Hey, Glimbo and Swifty, thank you. If you guys ever get to Fire and Blood, would there be a Luke food description?" I hadn't even considered doing the extra books.
Yeah, people have been eaten in those other books. I don't think it's described very much in Fire and Blood, though, because Fire and Blood is just this dry historical text.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the meaty details of the eatings, so I don't know if that would work. Maybe we could look at the TV show version for some culinary inspiration. I don't know.
And then you'd have to view it from the point of view of a dragon. Anyway, lightning round. Tyrion kills Illyrio. Had to go to the hospital unexpectedly a while back, and the waiting time was in the UK. Was hours even at 3 a.m. Goodness. Luckily, your video of the Game of Thrones Telltale game had just released, and I laughed till I cried. This is my thanks. Please do more.
Hope you feel better.
It's so interesting. We've had so many comments and super chats telling us to continue that one, and I think we both agree it's the one we'd least like to continue.
Yeah, I think we both felt the experience of trying to talk over the dialogue in the Game of Thrones Telltale game to be bewildering and overwhelming, and maybe that's why people enjoy watching us.
Complete chaos.
Yeah.
Because every decision we made was so malinformed because we were riffing over everything.
Yeah. It would be funny to attempt that again, I guess. Thank you, Gokhan Demercy, who says, "Love you guys. You're an awesome team. Keep going."
Thank you.
Thank you, Kobe Z, who says, "For these streams, I think we need a soundboard option with Mormont's Raven screaming Ham! To the voice of Angie from 30 Rock.
I don't remember what Angie from 30 Rock
Yeah,
sounds
who's
like.
Angie from 30
Angie
Rock?
30 Rock?
I remember 30 Rock pretty well. I don't remember an Angie.
Is it Tracy's wife?
Oh, yeah. When does she scream ham? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, well, if anyone has suggestions for the soundboard, let me know. I want to put a shame bell in there, but if you got other ideas, comment them. Thank you, Maximilian Rodler, and thank you, Uwu Watch, who says, "Why can Dany control 3 dragons? Can the Blacks do that since they have more dragons?"
It's a great question.
That's a fantastic question.
We have no idea.
Do you think Dany is just a super... here's the real answer. Dany doesn't control 3 dragons. Dany barely controls 1 dragon.
Yeah. I think the only instance of her controlling 3 dragons is in season 6 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. The TV show sort of suggests that Daenerys can control all of her dragons, but in the books, Dany cannot control all her dragons. She struggles to control Drogon at all.
And so my response to that is... Dany can control 3 dragons in Game of Thrones because they didn't really think about it.
Yeah, that's usually the answer. For real, Rhaegal and Viserion are running around eating people on both sides of the battle right now in TWoW. They're all over the place.
And God knows what Drogon, was up to that whole time.
Thanks for the super chat from Brianna Abelt, who says, "You guys are the Lord Beesbreeze." Thanks for the super chat from Brian, who says, "Let's get this bread."
Let's get it.
Thanks for the super chat from Saverna, who says, "I've been reading some of the old lore of D&D and the story about how one of the moons above Toril has a crack in it and what happens next. It sounds really familiar. Do you think George R. Martin is a D&D fan?"
Just want to be clear, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, not Dave and Dan. George absolutely is a Dungeons and Dragons fan. I think he's talked about it before.
Yeah, Tyrion Lannister was originally a tabletop role-playing character that George played, called Borbo Pinto or something, and it was based on
Glimbo Bimbo.
It seriously sounds like that. It's like a racist Asian dwarf
but the
character.
Thing is, he came up with it when he was 16 or something, right?
Yeah. So there's a long and colorful history of George Martin playing D&D and similar role-playing games. So
no, he loves this stuff.
Yeah, he's old school dork.
I don't know if he's stolen mythology from that, but you write what you know, and he knows a lot of fantasy crap.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not the first or the last guy to write about the moon having a crack in it. I always loved in the Scott Pilgrim comic books. Scott punches the moon and leaves a crater in it as a testament to a teenage crush. It's beautiful. I mean, everyone looks at the moon, so inevitably cultures have opinions about it. It's cool though, isn't it?
Syrian says, do you think George's notes are lost, or that they will publish them like was done with Tolkien's? I don't think he's lost anything, has he? He's never spoken about that, to my knowledge.
It would explain a lot, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Actually, he's said in the past that he doesn't really have that many notes.
Can that be true?
And why else do you have your gremlins, Elio and Linda?
Yeah, because Elio and Linda are George's collaborators who help him keep track of the world-building details. And yeah, it sounds like he really is sort of at their mercy to remember his own world. I wonder if George uses the wiki of
Oh God, I hope not.
I hope not, because it's quite
I've vandalized that
yeah.
before.
Is that why it says Tyrion is 7 foot tall?
Look, publishing houses are publishing houses, and if they have ownership of a very famous author's stuff after that very famous author dies, if they have the rights to it.
Yeah, George's publishers have shown a strong desire to publish everything that they can get their hands on that has George's name on it. Like, I mean, look at the Rise of the Dragon book that they just published, which is a condensed version of the Fire and Blood book, which is an expanded version of the World of Ice and Fire book. Like, they just want to fucking throw as much shit out there with George's name on it as they can. And if they can get their claws on George's word star typed notes about Meryn Trant's second cousins, like Pinto Bimbo, you better believe they're gonna stick it on every bookshelf in North America 5 minutes after he takes his last breath. Did I sound cynical then?
Fucking morbid.
A little bleak, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, true though. Zing K says
many thanks to Svistington and Oberkommandant Reichsführer Glumbel von Spiderland for this supreme and most choice selection of entertainment.
Where the fuck did this come from?
It just came through me. That is the voice that went with those words in my mind.
Well done.
Thanks to the super chat from Mazor.
What is that currency?
It's the Zuckbuck, I think.
Ah.
Thanks for the super chat from Mazor, who says, I'm a professional chef. Which food description should I try to make?
Is beans.
Rum ham. I think you should try to make the Samwell.
Milk steak.
Milk steak. Which food description would actually be good? What did we
We've ranked quite a few as S tier.
What was like the S tier one?
From today.
Yeah. There was an early S tier, wasn't there?
Actually, you know what you should try? The roast squirrel, acorn paste, and pickle.
That would be interesting to yeah. And remember that to do it authentically, you need to bludgeon the squirrel to death with a jar of pickles.
I just think that'd be an interesting thing to see into reality.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shane. In A Cock Davos 2, Stannis says, I magicked into a pig to kill my brother. Stannis is a pig. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say he doesn't have trotters.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Tyrek is a horse. Is Stannis a pig?
No, Stannis is...
Oh, no, Tyrion is a pig.
Stannis is a bed.
Tyrion is a pig because he rides a pig in Meereen.
Yeah, true.
Tyrion is a pig. It's proven.
Tyrion's also a horse sometimes.
How can you be both a pig and a horse?
Well, if Ygritte somehow manages to be a goat, a fish, and a horse...
Oh, my goodness. A chimera. A hybrid.
No wonder Jon fell in love with her.
My goodness.
Right, we've reached the end of the Super Chats backlog. People have stopped giving us money now, so let's get back to work.
Yeah, we'll do a couple more food descriptions, then we'll wrap it up, I reckon.
Oh, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yes. All right. This will be our finale food description.
Yeah, you don't want to finish the book?
I think that might take us a while at this rate.
Fair enough.
She found Lord Robert alone in the morning hall above the kitchens. So this is Sansa in the Eyrie, by the way. Pushing a wooden spoon listlessly through a big bowl of porridge and honey.
I wanted eggs!
He complained when he saw her.
I wanted 3 eggs, boiled soft, and some back bacon.
They had no eggs, no more than they had bacon. The Eyrie's granaries held sufficient oats and corn and barley to feed them for a year, but they depended on a bastard girl named Maya Stone to bring fresh foodstuffs up from the valley floor. With the Lord's declarant encamped at the foot of the mountain, there was no way for Maya to get through. Lord Belmore, first of the 6 to reach the gates, had sent a raven to tell Littlefinger that no more food would go up to the eyrie until he sent Lord Robert down. It was not quite a siege, not as yet, but it was the next best thing.
You can have eggs when Maya comes, as many as you like.
Elaine promised the little lordling.
She'll bring eggs and butter and melons, all sorts of tasty things.
The boy was unappeased.
I wanted eggs today! I don't want porridge!
Robert flung his spoon across the hall. It bounced off a hanging tapestry, and left a smear of porridge upon a white silk moon.
The Lord wants eggs! The Lord shall eat porridge and be thankful for it,
said Peter's voice. Oh, sorry, Petaya's voice behind them.
I do not! Let my porridge fly!
This time, Robert... F for everyone who was sleeping. This time, Robert flung the bowl, porridge and honey and all. Peter Baelish ducked aside nimbly, but Maester Coleman was not so quick. The wooden bowl caught him square in the chest, and its contents exploded upwards over his face and shoulders. Globs of porridge dotted Maester Coleman's face and hair as he knelt over his charge, murmuring soothing words. One gobbet crept slowly down his right cheek, like a lumpy grey-brown tear.
The boy's fond of sweets, is he not?
Sweets, said Coleman.
Sweets, cakes and pies, jams and jellies, honey on the comb, perhaps a pinch of sweet sleep in his milk. Have you tried that? Just a pinch to calm him and stop his wretched shaking.
Yeah, so that's the scene. That is Sweet Robin, young Robert Arryn, having a tantrum and throwing his porridge at Littlefinger and a Maester because he is discontent with not having enough food. And also his mother's dead, so that's a downer.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough.
The throwing of the porridge and the exploding onto the Maester might be the funniest food-related scene since the crab fight.
It's up there for sure, and the porridge that smears upon the white silk moon is clearly an allusion to the moon that explodes in Doria's story, which represents Nissa, because the porridge is the bleeding star that represents the masculine energy that breaks the moon, creating new life and creating dragons in the world of Ice and Fire.
And I just want to read where it, like what exactly it says of the tapestry.
Yeah, so where is it? Did I make it up?
No, you didn't make it up. Go back up.
Oh, yeah, it bounced off a hanging tapestry and left a smear of porridge. So,
upon a white silk moon, okay.
Oh, upon a white silk moon. Okay, so
I was just making sure you didn't make up that it was an Arryn tapestry. Like, it could have been anything, like the orgy tapestries of House of the Dragon.
Because there's that thing about the tapestry that Littlefinger requests of Robert, right?
Okay.
There's this little offhand comment that
Yeah.
Littlefinger makes that he wants a tapestry. Am I remembering this rightly?
No, you're right.
And a lot of fans have weird theories about why does Littlefinger want a particular tapestry
what's he
from
gonna
Robert?
do with that?
So when I saw this tapestry, I'm like, is that the tapestry?
I don't know. It's got the Arryn sigil on it, so
Yeah.
you'd think it's probably already from the Eyrie, right?
Yeah. But if Littlefinger's such a tapestry fancier, why is that in there? It must just be a coincidence.
Two tapestries exist. in
Two
Westeros.
tapestries exist. Yeah, all right. What do you think of the big bowl of porridge and honey combined with Maester Coleman? Is that a good recipe?
Or the tapestry.
Or
You
the
need to have
tapestry.
The tapestry.
I think the tapestry is like the serviette for you.
Look, I don't mind porridge, especially when it's flavored with honey. But if my mum had just died and I had to deal with all of the psychic bullshit going on in my head at the same time, I'd probably, act out as well.
Are you a Sweet Robin is psychic truther?
Well, I mean, he hears Marillion.
He's Marillion.
He hears Marillion.
He hears Marillion.
He is not Marillion. Unless maybe Marillion walked into Sweet Robin after he died.
Does that mean Sweet Robin is now in Marillion's body? Like a Freaky Friday situation?
They got in Professor Farnsworth's mind switching machine.
I think that sometimes children have nightmares, and that might explain
Yeah,
why.
especially when they're going through very stressful, traumatic situations.
Yeah, but I guess
I know. Look, he sits on a weirwood throne,
that's true. He sits on a weirwood throne. So what?
and he's drugged, the same way that Bran is.
And he's physically weak, just like Jojen
Yeah.
is and Bran
I know.
was.
So again, we were talking about coincidences not always being literal, but thematically, Sweet Robin matches up with Bran a lot.
He sits on like the highest point in Westeros, which is like sitting on top of a psychic antenna.
Yeah.
That's got to be easy for the three-eyed crow to reach him when he's up on the top of the Eyrie. So
and the three-eyed crow says to Bran that he will fly.
and
The porridge flies through the air.
Well, you've convinced me. Sweet Robin is psychic. Is that all in the Preston Jacobs video? Because Preston is a advocate of this line of theorizing, isn't he?
Absolutely, he is.
Yeah.
He loves him as Sweet Robin. I mean, he has chosen him as his avatar. Yeah, no, I actually really would recommend the time traveling Bran series. Even if you think that like it's all very overdone, there's always interesting stuff to get out of a lot of theorists, analysts. Like if you're willing to put up with this garbage that we're producing right now, you definitely enjoy what he had to say about that whole situation.
Yeah.
Or at least you'd get something out of it. I don't know if enjoy is the... I won't speak for you and say that you will enjoy it. I don't know you.
It would be kind of interesting to do streams or content just like literally just reacting to other Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, that'd be so easy.
Videos and theories. I mean, it would be quite easy. But it would also be like educational.
Yeah,
like
fun.
we would definitely learn stuff. You do
And
it.
we could debate what we're looking at.
Yeah.
We could get into heated arguments and refuse to speak to each other for several months at a time.
Again.
Yeah.
You need to do it with the permission of whoever made it,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But I imagine most people would be cool with that. And of course, it could be reciprocal.
You're not allowed to watch my videos.
Yeah. These YouTube videos are not for watching without written permission.
It
From the
only be
YouTuber in
observed
question.
from the seating bench of a museum.
Yes. So would you like to eat 3 eggs boiled soft with some back bacon?
Oh, yeah, sure.
A.
Yep.
Would you like to eat eggs and butter and melons and all sorts of tasty things? That's an easy A.
Would you like to eat Maester Coleman's face?
I don't want it.
Would you like to eat sweets, cakes and pies, jams and jellies, honey on the comb?
And a bit of...
And a little bit of opium. S. Honestly, I'm not that into jellies. I'm not that into
Yeah.
sweet pies. Like, I like a savory pie. I'm not that into a sweet pie. Like, jam can be good.
I used to not be into sweet pies either. They're not that much of a thing where I'm from. The
Yeah.
pies are typically filled with meat or something. But then someone I know cooked a magnificent pumpkin pie.
Ooh.
And I've been on the dessert pie grind for a while.
But a pumpkin pie is not the most sweet of sweet pies, right?
I suppose not. An apple pie is very, very sweet.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a fan of sweets, but I'm not super into the jellies, the sweet pies.
Yeah, I'm with you on the jelly.
And even the cakes. Like, cake, you don't want ultra sweet cake, you know? Like, you want, like, moderately sweet cake. All that said, I'm not going to give this an A.
Especially with the
Especially
opium.
with the opium. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's got to be an A. And then, as Littlefinger welcomes the Lord's declarant to the Eyrie... I said Eyrie before, now I'm saying Eyrie... Maybe I'll say airy next time. I just want to keep people on their toes. So Littlefinger welcomes the Lord Declarants to the Eyrie, and he says, "Tell the cook to mull some red wine with honey and raisins. Our guests will be cold and thirsty after their long climb. You are to meet them when they arrive and offer them refreshment. Wine, bread, cheese." What sort of cheese is left to us?
Sharp white and the stinky blue.
That sounded like salad fingers, not Sansa Stark. Oh my god.
That's my new headcanon.
The white. And you'd best change as well. Now, Littlefinger is a creepy dude who's telling Sansa to present food to entice his guests, he is also telling Sansa to change. So I think the undertone is that creepy Littlefinger is dressing Sansa up to present Sansa along with the food as a thing to present, in like a possessive way. I mean, Littlefinger like pimps out Sansa to the Boltons in Game of Thrones season 5.
Yeah.
And
for no reason.
For no reason. In the book, he does a similar thing, but in a way that actually makes sense because he wants Sansa to hook up with Harry the Heir,
supposedly.
So it's weird how Littlefinger is so possessive of Sansa, but is like and wants her for himself, but at the same time uses her politically. He's like controlling, and he's everything gross all at once.
I really like how he is all that, but like to someone like Cersei, he's just a charming, harmless little guy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Littlefinger talks Cersei's language, like he knows what to say to appease her. Like,
and that's what he's doing here. He's talking the Lord's Declarance's language.
And that's why Littlefinger is a criticism of the feudal class system, because it's saying that this is the kind of dickhead that succeeds in this awful system. Like he knows what buttons to press, and they're all bad buttons, and like shit rises, Like Littlefinger is the best example of social mobility in this world, and because this world is so messed up, he's a terrible guy who does it, Yeah. Like no one well-intentioned rises this high.
Yeah, it's possible for someone to rise from his station to the highest in the society, but it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the criticism of the institution. That shows how corrupt the institution is. I guess like a counterexample to that is Septon Bath. Because Septon Bath was like a common dude who Jaehaerys raised to be Hand of the King. So that's a big jump of social mobility, and it's a more positive one because Bath was like a cool dude.
Yeah, he was a Chad.
But, yeah.
Is there any other cases of that sort of thing? Bath is a great example.
I mean, Davos is the most prominent social mobility dude, and we see all of the obstacles that he faces, like all the lords who don't respect him and don't listen to him because he's low class.
The thing is,
and because he tells the truth.
Yeah, they hate it.
Yeah.
Peter is a nobleman. He was born to a somewhat noble family who had some land, whereas Davos was born to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, Davos climbs.
So Peter rose from middle management to the CEO, whereas Davos was like a janitor who is now the king's right hand man.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And yeah, Davos. Yeah, Littlefinger shows that if you lie and participate in evil, you can rise. And Davos shows that if you tell truth to power, you can still rise, but it'll be a lot harder. And that's what all of George's heroes are. It's like being the good guy is harder, and it sucks, but that's what you got to do if you want to make positive change.
Tyrion throughout Dance struggles with, doing things.
Doing things,
yeah,
for sure.
Why did my mind go to Tyrion at Dance?
He's someone who struggles from the loss of his status.
Yeah.
Like he does social mobility in the opposite direction. He slides from the top all the way down to being a slave. So,
that's a good point.
Someone in the live chat, Sidsby, points out that Duncan the Tall is an example.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an example of doing the right stuff. But of course, Duncan the Tall, the Duncan Egg stories only cover the years of obscurity before they go to the royal court, before Dunk becomes a Kingsguard. And I think that it's likely that if George was to write more Duncan Egg stories...
Crazy.
I think that they would become a lot more morally complicated because, like, the Duncan Egg stories are pretty straightforward. There is moral complexity in, like, the Swan Sword and stuff with the Osgreys and the Webbers.
Yeah.
But my point is that it might be kind of easy for Dunk to do the right thing so far, but it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder for Dunk once politics gets involved, once power gets involved.
Standing up to a prince for insulting a lowly girl can't have been easy.
Well, yeah. I shouldn't say that it's easy. It is hard for Dunk to do what he does. But I guess what I'm just saying is that it's only going to get harder and it's only going to get more complicated.
Yep.
And so I think the later Dunk and Egg stories will get a lot more political. And of course, realistically speaking, they're going to get a lot longer because it'll get more complicated. There'll be more characters. There'll be more stuff happening that are about entire wars like the Blackfire Rebellion. So obviously, there's no way George is actually going to finish the Dunk and Egg series in a bunch of short novellas.
Let me dream.
George is delusional. I love him, but he's delusional. Oh, we need to end this on a high note, though, Glidus. All right. How do you rate the food description of wine, bread, cheese, sharp white, and stinky blue?
Great.
Can we give an S for the stinky blue?
Well, he doesn't want to serve the stinky blue. He's serving the sharp white.
Just an A then.
Have we received any super chats to cap off? Just make sure we're... Oh, we got one from the real Glidus.
Oh boy. The real Glidus says, Lord Swifty, George R. R. Martin told me a secret, that if you finished A Song of Ice and Fire Abridged, he'd release Winds. Ooh. Do you think if Winds comes out, if the release date of Winds of Winter gets announced, I would probably just sit down and stream A Song of Ice and Fire Abridged continuously until I'd caught up to Winds. I think that is probably...
Yeah, it'd put a hard cap on a lot of things. Like all of the theory videos that all of us wanted to make before the thing came out. We'd have to just go.
Yeah, because like the Song of Ice and Fire fandom has existed in this like temporal limbo where like we are unstuck from time. We don't know when the next installment is on the horizon. We don't know how long the wait will be. So we all just sort of delve as deep as we see fit to delve with each video or whatever. But like if there was a Winds of Winter release date, or if, you know, George had any kind of track record of reliable guesstimations of his progress, there would suddenly be a lot more clarity around how much time we've got. We'd be able to make plans with our content.
Yeah, how dare he not think about us?
Yeah, like there must be people who really rushed and tried to really get their Song of Ice and Fire content out as quickly as humanly possible before Winds comes out. And wouldn't you feel like an idiot if you did that?
Yeah, 7 years ago.
I'm glad that we've taken our time to really like simmer and think about the details
of the food descriptions.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing, is that like no one was doing what we're currently doing 7 years ago because it made no sense. Why would you do this?
I'm not sure it makes sense now.
It doesn't, but this is where we are. This is where he's taken us.
I would like us to discuss some shows that are not stuck in temporal limbo. So that I mean House of the Dragon is good because it's ongoing and it's good, but we should talk about other series too, so we don't have to end each stream by saying, well, here we are, spinning the wheel till the fat man sings.
Like a dad who's just stopped at a service station to fill up petrol on the road trip. Well, we might get somewhere next time.
It's all a bit grim. However, I do want to do all of the feast and dance food descriptions, in our next installment.
God. So the first one we got through 2 books. The second one we got through 1 book. The third one we got through most of a book. Most of the shortest book.
Yeah, look, we didn't cover a lot of ground in this stream, but I enjoyed it, and
I always have fun.
And I think that's good. I don't think we even got halfway through Feast, actually. I think we did less than a third. I think we did less than a third of a book. It's amazingly inconsistent, our pace. I don't know how, but yeah. There's people in the live chat suggesting we talk about Twin Peaks and The Return and Remembrance of Earth's Past and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if people in the comments have suggestions on like shows or books or stuff that we could do streams and stuff about, maybe we will do that.
A rock you saw?
Yeah, maybe a particularly charming rock. You could grab that rock and throw it at us, and that's what we call a hello rock.
For now, I'll be sending goodbye rocks.
Now the goodbye rocks cometh. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this silly live stream. Thank you for the super chats. It's very kind. It's very generous.
So nice.
Subscribe to Glidus.
I guess.
Links
There's
in the
no
description.
real incentive anymore because I've already hit the eating wins milestone.
Check out Glidus's rock band. Spotify link in the description. Check out there's a podcast feed. If you want to listen to these live streams, they are on any podcast app or on Spotify or whatever you like.
That's crazy.
The wonders of modern technology.
Yeah.
Sopranos food descriptions. So yeah, anything you'd like to say, Glidus?
I was just talking for almost 3 hours. Isn't that enough?
Yeah, how could there possibly be another thing to say? Oh my goodness. Stranger Things theories. The later seasons got weird, didn't they?
I like food.
I like food too. With those wise words, we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe. And do cardio and eat vegetables.
Brush your damn teeth.
Brush your toothies. Flossing, I'm not entirely convinced on, but
It's
certainly
a scam.
brush. I think Big Floss invented that, trying to pull one over on you, you know? Nonsense. All right.
People listen to us.
Yeah, that's... All right.